Chapter 240. At this moment, Han Hao turned to Duan Muke and said, "Xiao Ke, come with me for a moment." Duan Muke nodded and walked out of the bedroom with Han Hao. Only the Red Baron and I were left in the room. The Red Baron sighed and looked at me. "You told Duan Muke about Yi's past?" I nodded. "Yeah, I can't hide it anymore. He's Yi's biological father, so he'll find out about Yi's past sooner or later. It's better to tell him now." "Then what about saving Yi? Are you going to do it yourself?" The Red Baron looked at me helplessly as she linked her arms with mine. I nodded. "Yeah, I'm going to save Yi myself. That's what the kidnappers said. They want me to go alone. I won't be at ease if I don't see Yi. You know that Yi has never left my side. Now that she's in danger, my heart is about to break. I'd rather be in danger than let her be in danger." The Red Baron thought for a moment and looked at me. "Let me go," she said. I stared blankly at the Red Baron. The Red Baron smiled and said, "Let me go. The kidnappers don't know who Cold Glaze is. Won't it make the same difference if I go or you go? So let me go." "No way. How can I let you put yourself in danger? You don't have to worry about it. I have to go personally. What if someone knows Cold Glaze? Both you and E might be in trouble. You've done a lot for me. How can I let you put your life in danger again?" "Red Baron, listen to me. You have to trust me." I gripped the Red Baron's shoulder tightly as I spoke to her in a serious tone. The Red Baron looked at me and nodded helplessly. She said softly, "All right, I'll listen to you. But you have to listen to me on two things. First, you have to set off to save Yi. I'll follow you in secret, and I won't let anyone find out. Also, I have to tell the president and his wife about Yi's kidnapping. I know you'll definitely refuse, but you have to listen to me on this matter, because you're going to be in danger too. The president and his wife have to have the right to know about this." I looked at Red Jew. She had already thought of everything for me while I was in a mess, and helped me deal with a lot of problems. I looked at Red Jew with tears in my eyes. I nodded and said to her, "Okay, I got it. I promise you that I can tell my parents. After all, they have to be mentally prepared if something happens to Yi. However, you must not be too direct when you tell them. I'm afraid that the two of them won't be able to take it. After all, the elderly love their children. After all, they're very old." "That's for sure," the Red Baron said softly as she looked outside the door. "Don't you want to hear what Han Hao and Duan Muke are talking about?" I shook my head and said, "I don't want to know. It's nothing more than a conversation between brothers. I don't want to hear it either. They're used to bickering." As soon as I said that, Duan Muke and Han Hao walked into the bedroom. Han Hao looked at me and smiled. He walked to my side and hugged me gently. After a while, Suri and Xinyao came back with a suitcase. Suri handed the suitcase to me and said, "Miss, we've finally collected it after running through half the city. We're exhausted. Luckily we made it in time. What should we do later? Let's go together." The Red Baron shook her head. She looked at Suri and said, "Let's do it this way. I'll arrange the rescue for Yi today. I know that I don't have much status in front of you, but I have the most experience. I hope you can trust me." Everyone looked at each other, then looked at Red Jew and nodded. Red Jew continued, "This kidnapper is very shrewd at first glance. Because the sound of the video has been processed, the money to be given to the kidnapper must be real money. Therefore, according to the kidnapper's request, the money must be personally delivered by the young lady. Because Han Hao was not at ease, and was also afraid that the other party would secretly follow them, Han Hao sent the young lady to the abandoned factory. But he had to stop at the door. Then, the young lady walked in with her suitcase. Han Hao had to stay in the car, and absolutely could not get out of the car and go with the young lady. Xinyao will stay at home. After all of us depart, we'll tell the president and his wife about this matter. Then we'll call the police. Duan Muke, I'll have to trouble you to go to Wang Luer's house and tell her father everything that happened today. Also, you have to tell him about Wang Luer's friends. After Han Hao and Miss depart, Suri and I will secretly follow them. We just have to make sure that no one notices us. Then, after Miss enters the factory, Suri and I will sneak into the factory. This way, if the kidnappers really make a move, we'll be able to fight back." Duan Muke thought for a moment. Then, he looked at the Red Baron and said, "Your plan is very thorough. But is it appropriate to let Xiaoli go in alone? I'm more worried that something will happen to her." "That won't happen. I definitely won't let myself get hurt. It's fine. Let's just follow the Red Baron's suggestion. I think it's very thorough. As long as every aspect is well prepared, we won't have any problems. If Wang Luo really did it, I'll make her pay the price this time." I clenched my fists tightly. Han Hao glanced at the time. There were still 2 hours until 11 o'clock. Han Hao looked at everyone and said, "There's still some time. Everyone go back to your rooms and rest for a while. In an hour, gather in the living room. Red Baron, please arrange a place for Duanmuke to rest." The Red Baron nodded. Everyone left the bedroom except for Han Hao and I. "So for Yi's sake, I am willing to wait for you in the car. But you must call me immediately if anything happens. No matter what happens, I will rush to your side, okay?" Han Hao held me in his arms and gently stroked my hair. I leaned into his arms and said softly, "Xiao Hao, if something happens to me, I hope you can forget about me and find a woman who loves you to start a new life. I didn't belong to you in the first place, and now it seems like fate has arranged it. If something really happens to me, you must find happiness." Chapter 241. Don't spout nonsense. You're the only one I've ever loved in my life, so I only want to be with you. Don't think too much. I want to be with you. Don't worry, Yi and you will come back safely. Don't worry, you have to trust me. Han Hao hugged me in his arms. My heart was in a mess. I didn't know what would happen next, but I wasn't afraid at all. I wanted to save my daughter. I had to save her successfully. Han Hao rested with me for an hour. When it was time for us to meet, everyone gathered in the living room. Suri and the Red Baron had already changed into their night clothes. Xingyao's eyes were red. She must have cried. Actually, she really loved Yi. Whenever I was busy, she would take care of Yi. Moreover, she had groomed Yi to have a very avant-garde fashion point. It seemed like she wanted to bring Yi into the fashion industry. When the Red Baron saw that everyone had gathered, he said, "All right, let's follow the plan we discussed earlier." The Red Baron turned to look at me and said softly, "Missy, you have to be careful. If there's any danger, don't rush forward on your own. Do you understand? I don't want you to be in danger. If there's anything, you have to call for help." I nodded, and everyone went their separate ways. Duanmuke left the house first, and went straight to Wang Luo's house. I got into Han Hao's car, and sat in the front passenger seat. There was 5 million in cash in the back seat. I was still very nervous. I panted and tried to calm myself down. Han Hao could tell that I was nervous. He put his hand on my hand and comforted me. I smiled at him, and we set off on our journey to the abandoned factory. Han Hao drove very steadily, because he had made an appointment with Suri and the rest. He controlled the speed at 60 miles per hour. Suri's car left 10 minutes later than ours. When we reached the fork in the road, we took the main road, while they took the smaller road, to reach the abandoned factory earlier. The fork in the road was about 20 minutes away from the abandoned factory, so it was impossible for the kidnappers to find us. Han Hao and I didn't speak on the way. He knew that I liked to be alone when something happened, so he didn't disturb me. Finally, we arrived at the entrance of the abandoned factory. I looked around, and saw that the entire factory was shrouded in darkness. It was so eerie that it looked like it was going to swallow people whole. I sighed. Han Hao held my hand and hugged me. He said softly, "Darling, don't be afraid. Don't worry. I'll always be here with you. Darling, I'll wait for you to come back. I'll definitely wait for you to come back. You have to be careful. Call me immediately if there's anything, okay?" Han Hao's eyes were wet. He held my face and kissed me gently. I couldn't help but cry. I reached out to touch his face and said, "All right, don't worry. I'll be back soon. You have to wait for me." I let go of his hand, turned around, and got out of the car. I walked to the back seat and took my suitcase. I closed the door and walked into the factory without looking back. I heard Han Hao shouting for me from behind. He had promised the Red Baron that he wouldn't get out of the car. I could hear the helplessness in his hoarse voice. I didn't think too much about it. I walked into the factory. There were many abandoned buildings in the factory compound. I didn't know which building the kidnappers had taken them to. I stood in the middle of the courtyard and looked at the time. It was already the appointed time. Then my phone rang. I picked it up and saw that it was a call from one of the kidnappers. I answered the call. "Hello, where do you want to go? I already saw you. You're in the building on the left. Come in." The call ended, and I looked up at the building on the left. There was a figure standing on the third floor. It looked like the kidnappers. I sighed and walked over with my suitcase. I hadn't taken 2 steps when I saw a black figure standing at the foot of the wall. It was none other than the Red Baron. She nodded at me. I pretended to be calm and walked towards the building. It looked like Suri had already gone into hiding. The Red Baron must have come to give me a hint. I carried my suitcase and walked into the building. It was so dark that I couldn't see anyone at all. I stood near the door and shouted, "I'm here. I'm here to save my daughter. Come out." I waited for a while, but there was no answer. I shouted again. Then I heard the sound of footsteps. It was the sound of many people's footsteps. I also heard a choked cry. It must have been Ee's voice, but it sounded more like whimpers. She must have been gagged. I shouted, "Ee, is that you?" At this time, a light 30 meters away from me lit up. It was so bright that I couldn't open my eyes. I blocked it with my hand. When I came back to my senses, I saw a dozen people standing under the light. One of the men was holding Ee in his arms. He was tied up and gagged. When she saw me, she cried even louder. I shouted, "Ee, let go of her. I've brought what you want. Give my daughter back to me." Looking at Ee's suffering appearance, I couldn't stop the tears from flowing down from the corners of my eyes. At this time, the sound of high-heeled footsteps came from behind a nearby pillar. When she came in front of me, I saw that it was Wang Luer. She walked up to me, took my arm, and looked at me with contempt. It was as if she wanted to eat me. I looked at her angrily, but Ee was still in their hands. I couldn't be too impulsive. Wang Luer looked at me and sneered. "Did you bring the money?" I handed the suitcase to her and said, "I brought it. It's all inside. You can count it." Wang Luer snapped her fingers, and a man came from behind. He took the suitcase from my hands and opened it in front of us. He began to count the money. I looked at Wang Luer and said, "Can you give Ee back to me now?" Wang Luer glanced at the person who was counting the money. Then she snapped her fingers. The man who was carrying Ee came over and handed Ee to Wang Luer. From a close distance, I could see that Ee's face was red. It seemed that she had been crying all the time. However, her face was pale. It seemed that she was frightened or dehydrated. I took a step forward and reached out to grab Ee from Wang Luer's hands. However, I was pushed away by the man next to her. After the man finished counting the money, he looked at Wang Luer and said, "Miss, the money is correct. It's all real. However, it's not a serial number. It looks like it was pieced together." Wang Luer sneered at me and said, "It seems that you care a lot about your daughter." Chapter 242. Don't say useless things. Quickly return Ee to me. I'll give you the money, and we're even. Looking at Ee's appearance, my heart ached. I wanted to take her away from here as soon as possible. I didn't know if I had left a shadow in her heart. If so, it might become a scar for her life. "Kneel down." Wang Luer looked at me and said with contempt. "What?" I looked at her in confusion. I didn't expect her to make such an unreasonable request. "I want you to kneel down." Wang Luer raised her voice and shouted at me. I looked at her and said, "That's impossible. You think too much. Wang Luer, don't go too far. I've already agreed to your request and brought the money. You should return Ee to me. Why should I kneel down in front of you?" Wang Luer looked at me and sneered. In front of me, she stretched out her hand and pinched Ee's arm. Ee shouted loudly and cried even harder. My heart felt like it was being cut by a knife. Wang Luer looked at me and said, "Are you going to kneel down or not?" "You." I was so angry that I couldn't speak. Seeing that I didn't kneel down, Wang Luer once again pinched Ee's arm. Ee's cries pierced my heart. Okay. I'll kneel down and beg you not to hurt my daughter." Wang Luer sneered and looked at me as she let go of Ee's arm. I looked at her, afraid that she would hurt Ee again. I had no choice but to kneel down in front of her. I lowered my head. I had never knelt down in front of anyone in my life. This shame. I must make her pay back double. Wang Luo looked at me and said again, "Kneel down with both legs. Otherwise I'll torture your daughter." Her vicious threat made me unable to refuse. I lowered my head and knelt down in front of her. After seeing me kneel down, she laughed loudly. Her laughter sounded particularly harsh. I didn't raise my head to look at her. Wang Luo looked at me and sneered. She said to the people around her, "Hey, do you know who she is? She is the daughter of the Red Minghui of a city. And now she is kneeling down in front of me for the sake of a child. Look at her. She is as useless as a dog, and a dog that doesn't bark." The people around her also laughed along with her. Swallowing my humiliation, I lowered my head and asked softly, "Can you return my daughter to me now?" "I can, but you have to shout it out loud. You Cold Glaze are a slut who only knows how to seduce men. If you say it, I'll let your daughter go." Wang Luo squatted down and placed Yi on the ground. She pulled the towel out of Yi's mouth and looked at Yi. "Little darling, hurry up and persuade your mother. Otherwise you'll be tortured by me." I raised my head and looked at Yi. Her eyes were full of tears. She looked at me and softly said, "Mother." Seeing Yi like this, I made up my mind. No matter what kind of humiliation I had to suffer, I would save Yi. I looked at Wang Luo. She was still looking at me with an extremely arrogant expression. I said softly, "Okay, I'll say it. I Cold Glaze am a slut who only knows how to seduce men. Is that good enough? Speak louder. Are you trying to scare the mosquitoes?" Wang Luo looked at me impatiently. I closed my eyes and shouted loudly, "I Cold Glaze am a slut who only knows how to seduce men. Is that good enough?" Hearing me shout like this, they all laughed together. Wang Luo looked at me and reached out to grab my face. "Yes," she said softly. "Look at your eyes. You look quite good. How could you be a slut who only knows how to seduce men? What a waste of your face." I shook off Wang Luo's hand and looked at her. "Give Yi back to me." Okay, I'll give her back to you." "Look, you're angry." Wang Luo then let go of Yi's hand, and Yi ran into my arms. I hugged her tightly. I swore that I would never let her leave me again and get hurt again. Holding Yi, I ignored Wang Luo and turned around to leave this place. But before I could take 2 steps, I was stopped by 2 men. I held Yi tightly and shouted, "What do you mean? I just promised you that I would give Yi back to you after you brought the money. I've done it now." Wang Luo held my arm and smiled proudly. I held Yi, afraid that she would get hurt again. Before I could react, a man behind me swung a stick and hit me on the back. I lost my center of gravity and fell to the ground with Yi in my arms. Yi was so scared that she started crying again. I tried to calm Yi down. I held Yi in my arms, afraid that they would do something to Yi. Several people came towards me with sticks. I knew that they were coming for me. I held Yi in my arms, and Yi leaned against me. I knew that I was the only one she could rely on now. Those sticks all hit me. Although it was very painful, I endured it for Yi's safety. I had to ensure Yi's safety. She must not get hurt. After a round of violent beating, they finally stopped. I let go of Yi, and Yi was still in my arms. Fortunately, she was not hurt at all. Blood flowed from the corner of my mouth. Yi reached out to wipe the blood from the corner of my mouth. Her face was full of tears. I reached out to wipe the tears from her face and said, "Silly, mommy is fine. Mommy is fine. Don't worry." Yo, what a pair of mother and daughter. But it's useless. Let me tell you, Cold Glaze, I hate you. When Duan Muke and I were together, all he thought about was you. How ridiculous. Even when he was drunk, he talked about you. This really makes me unhappy. Do you think I will let you walk out of here alive? What a rare opportunity for me to deal with you. Do you think I won't cherish it? I forced myself to raise my head. I looked at Wang Luo and said softly, "I don't care what you do to me, but can you let my daughter go first? Even if I beg you, the child is innocent. You can kill me, but I beg you to let my daughter go." Wang Luo sneered and waved at me. I forced myself to stand up. I looked at Yi and said softly, "Yi, listen to mommy. Daddy is outside. Hurry up and go find him. You must listen to mommy, okay?" Yi shook her head with all her might. She looked at me and said, Mommy, I don't want to leave you. I stroked Yi's hair and said softly, be good. Hurry up and go. I whispered into Yi's ear. Dad is right outside. You just have to inform Dad, okay? Yi, hurry up and go. I pushed Yi towards the door. Chapter 243. Yi turned to look at me, then ran out of the door crying. Looking at her receding figure, I let out a long sigh. Yi was out of danger, so there was nothing for me to worry about. I wanted her to be safe, and there was Red Baron and Suri outside to protect Yi. Yi would definitely reach Hanhao soon. That was enough. Her safety was more important than anything else. Before I could react, I was hit hard on the back. I lost my balance and fell to the ground. I struggled to get up. Just as I turned around, a stick came at me. I couldn't dodge it and fell to the ground again. Because I blocked it with my arm, the stick hit my arm hard. My arm hurt. I raised my head and looked at Wang Luer. She was looking at me with a cold expression. I knew she had been looking forward to this day for a long time. I looked at her with a sneer. Wang Luer looked at me and said, "This is just the beginning. How do you feel?" Originally, I wanted to vent my anger on you and your daughter. But since you are pleading for your daughter, I will vent it all on you. Wang Luer walked in front of me and looked at me with a sneer. She stretched out her foot and kicked me to the ground. She snapped her fingers again, and several people walked towards me with sticks in their hands. I knew that a storm of beatings was about to hit me. After a round of beating, I didn't know how I survived. My whole body was stinging with pain. I fell to the ground, dying, and couldn't get up. Wang Luer came in front of me and stepped on my body with her heel. But I couldn't feel the pain. Wang Luer looked at me and said with a smile, "Is that all you can do? You've really disappointed me. Tell me, why would Duan Muke take a fancy to you? Maybe it's because of the look in your eyes. In fact, instead of killing you, it's better to torture you slowly. That way, I can enjoy watching you die. Cold glaze. Don't think that no one can deal with you just because you are the eldest daughter of the Lung family." Wang Luer pulled my hair and took out a pair of scissors from who knows where. She cut my hair, and I fell to the ground again. Her smile became even brighter. She cut my long hair, but I didn't have the strength to struggle. Seeing my long hair become short, Wang Luer squatted down. She reached out her hand and held my face. Looking at me, she smiled and said, "It's really unfair. Even short hair looks so good." Wang Luer let go of my hand and threw me to the ground. She turned to look at a man next to her and said, "Forget it, I've played enough. Deal with it." A man took out a knife from his pocket. He walked towards me and held the knife to my neck. At this moment, I wasn't nervous at all. What I was thinking about the most was the warm memories of the past. I thought about the time I spent with Duan Muke, with my parents, with Hanhao, with Suri, with the Red Baron, and with Xinyao. I also thought about the time I was pregnant, when Yi was born, and watching Yi grow up little by little. After experiencing so much, I felt satisfied. However, there were still many regrets in my heart. I didn't marry Hanhao, didn't watch Yi grow up, and didn't live happily with my family. Although there were still many regrets in my heart, I still felt satisfied. Everything was over, and I was about to end my life. I hoped that my departure could exchange for everyone's happiness. I closed my eyes tightly. I could feel the cold knife on my neck. "Stop!" I heard a familiar voice. I raised my head and opened my eyes. I saw the Red Baron. She rushed in front of me and kicked the knife away from my neck. Then she kicked the man to the ground. I turned my head to look at the other side. Suri had also rushed over. He was also fighting with a few people. After the Red Baron finished dealing with the man, she quickly carried me in her arms. She looked at me and shouted, "Milady, milady, are you okay? Milady, wake up, milady." I saw the tears on the Red Baron's face. I tried my best to reach out and touch her face. "Red Baron, I'm fine. Don't worry. Hurry up and help Suri." Just then another group of people walked in. From afar I saw Duan Muke's figure. Next to him was an older man. There were dozens of people following behind him. It seemed like he was Wang Luer's father. I smiled and then lost all my strength. I fainted in the Red Baron's arms. I still remembered that the last voice I heard from the Red Baron was her calling my name. I had a long dream. I dreamt that I had grown a pair of wings and was flying in the sky. I couldn't see anyone, but I could only see clouds all around me and not a single person. I didn't know how long I had been flying, but I was very tired. I stopped and found an empty space to lie down. There were still clouds all around me. Perhaps I had really died. Otherwise, how could I have dreamt of such a thing? It's good that I'm leaving. I hope that the people I miss dearly will be happy and safe. I hope that Han Hao can find someone he likes and start a happy family as soon as possible. I also hope that Yi can grow up safely. I owe her the most in my life, so that's it. I'm at ease now. I haven't done anything bad in my life. I hope that I can go to heaven. Cold Glaze. Cold Glaze. Wake up, do you hear me? Cold Glaze, you can't leave me. I've said it before. I only want you for the rest of my life. You can't leave me alone. You can't be so irresponsible. Cold Glaze. I love you. You said that you would stay with me. Why did you leave me? Why did you leave Yi behind? I heard a familiar voice. It sounded very familiar. It sounded like Han Hao's voice. This voice was very real, as if it was lingering in my ears. Could it be that I missed him too much and couldn't bear to part with him? The voice became clearer and clearer. It wasn't a dream. It was indeed Han Hao's voice. I didn't die. I was still alive. I struggled and gradually regained consciousness. I slowly opened my eyes and the first person that entered my line of sight was Han Hao. I didn't know why, but when I saw him for the first time, my heart calmed down a lot. My vision gradually cleared, and I saw Han Hao's handsome face. His face was covered in tears, as if he had suffered a lot. His sorrowful eyes made my heart ache. I tried my best to smile at him. Han Hao saw me smile and he smiled too. No matter what happened, I would love him without hesitation. I would never leave him. Chapter 244. Han Hao wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes. He looked at me and said, "Silly, I thought you didn't want me anymore. You finally came back to me. I really thought you left me. When the doctor gave me the notice of critical illness, I broke down. I didn't believe that you would leave me, so I didn't sign it. Luckily, I persisted and waited until you came back." I looked at him and smiled. "Well, aren't I back now? Don't worry, I'm fine." As soon as I finished speaking, the doctor walked into the room. He walked to my side and began to examine me. After a round of examination, the doctor looked at Han Hao and the others and said, "She's out of danger. She just needs to rest. She's not in a good condition to be in contact with people. Let's wait until she's better before visiting." "Wait a minute, doctor. I'm her fiancé. We've just been through a lot. I have a lot to say to her. Can I talk to her for a while?" Han Hao asked the doctor. The doctor looked at Han Hao's sincere eyes and said, "Okay, but don't take too long. The rest of you can leave first. We'll visit her when her condition is stable." The doctor left with Suri and the others. The Red Baron didn't come, because he had to deal with the aftermath. Xinyao stayed at home to take care of her parents and Yi. Suri took care of everything at the hospital. Among so many people, I didn't see Duanmu Quebec. Only Han Hao and I were left in the room. Han Hao sat next to me and reached out to hold my hand. "Darling, I missed you so much. You don't know how worried I was when you went into the factory. When Yi came out, she told me that you were beaten up because you tried to protect her." I quickly called the Red Baron, and just as I was about to get out of the car, I saw Duanmu rushing over with a group of people. He told me to take Yi home first, as I had to send her home to ensure her safety. After I sent her home, I received a call saying that you were seriously injured and sent to the hospital. After I helped Yi settle down, I hurried over here. Luckily I saw you. Luckily Yi found you safely. What happened next? Can you tell me? Han Hao nodded. Duanmu went to Wang Luer's house and told her father what happened. At first, Wang Luer's father didn't believe him, but he showed him the video of Yi being kidnapped. Her father immediately recognized the factory he had just acquired and was planning to develop. He believed that Wang Luer's doing. He was very angry, so he brought his men and Duanmu to the factory. Yi was able to get out safely because she had the Red Baron and Suri's protection. When I saw how pitiful Yi was, I felt like Mai's heart. "Oh, by the way, Yi is injured. Did you take her to the hospital to treat it?" I was worried about her. Don't worry. E's injuries aren't serious, but I was worried that she would be traumatized by the kidnapping. So I called a private doctor over to give her a thorough examination. She's fine, so don't worry. Xinyao is still by E's side to take care of her. You, on the other hand, should take care of yourself first before thinking about anyone else. Han Hao looked at me and pursed his lips. I looked at him and smiled. It's okay. As long as E is safe, that's all that matters. When did I not take care of myself? Don't overthink it. I'm fine, aren't I? Han Hao glared at me. He looked at me and said angrily, when did you take care of yourself? When I saw your medical records, I almost broke down. Do you know that? You have at least 3 broken bones, many bruises and countless abrasions. You call this taking care of yourself? Tell me, how can I be at ease letting you live alone when you're like this? I'm not. I didn't do it on purpose. Don't you see that I'm usually fine? Isn't this a special situation? Aya, I promise I won't be like this in the future, okay? Don't be angry. I held Han Hao's hand and looked at Han Hao. He sighed helplessly. Darling, I can't take it anymore. When you're discharged, let's get married. Han Hao looked at me seriously and said softly, when you're discharged, let's get married. I don't want to delay it any longer. Huh. Isn't this too rushed? You haven't prepared anything yet. I looked at Han Hao. I knew that he couldn't bear to let me leave him. I also knew that he loved me. And I also knew that I couldn't leave him. But this marriage was so rushed that I didn't know what to do. You don't have to prepare anything. You just have to promise me. I'll take care of everything. You just have to quietly prepare to be your bride. Han Hao kissed me gently on the cheek. He looked at me and said, it's about time. You should rest well. I'll go home and see Yi. Then, I'll ask Uncle and Auntie if they have any requests for the wedding. I'll do it all in one go. Rest well. Call me if there's anything. I'll see you tomorrow. Han Hao kissed me on the lips and left. I was the only one left in the ward. I let out a long sigh. I'd been awake for a long time, and gradually felt the pain in my wounds getting stronger. When I woke up, it was already night time. I looked at my phone. Han Hao had called me a few times, but I didn't pick up because I was asleep. He had also left me a message. I looked at the time, and it was already past 11 p.m. I guessed that he was already asleep. I sent him a message, but after waiting for a while, there was still no reply. I told him to rest well. He had been busy for a long time, and was already very tired. Actually, when I thought about him marrying me, I felt a little excited. I was also very happy to have such a person to rely on. Just then, I saw a shadow flash by the door of the ward. My nerves suddenly tensed up. I raised my head and looked at the door. I took out a knife from behind my pillow. Han Hao had purposely left it for me to defend myself. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. I shouted, who is it? Don't be afraid. I'm Duanmu, Quebec. Are you asleep? Can I come in? I recognized Duanmu K's voice. I let out a long sigh and said softly, come in. I'm not asleep yet. The door of the ward was pushed open, and Duanmu K walked in from outside. He was carrying an insulated lunchbox and a travel bag. He looked at me and smiled faintly. After he came in, he closed the door. Chapter 245. Duanmu K walked to my side. He put the lunchbox on the cabinet, and a bunch of fruits in the cabinet. Then he sat down next to me. He looked at me with a calm expression, but I could see that his eyes were bloodshot. He probably didn't sleep well either. He reached out and covered me with the blanket. Then he looked at me and said, why aren't you asleep yet? I just woke up and saw that Han Hao called me a lot and sent me a lot of messages. I sent him a message, but he didn't reply. I guessed he was asleep, so I didn't disturb him. Then I saw a shadow at the door. I thought it was a bad guy, but I didn't expect it to be you. I sheathed the knife in my hand and gave him an awkward smile. I just went to his house. I heard that he's going to marry you after you leave the hospital. I went to his house and saw Han Shu. I heard from Han Shu that in order to prepare for your wedding, he went home and packed his luggage. Then he left for another city. It seems like he's going to personally pick out the things he needs to prepare for your wedding. He's also very attentive to you. In order to protect you, He's been working very hard. That's why he didn't come to accompany you tonight. I know that Suri and the others still have a lot of things to deal with, so I quietly came over. Duanmuke looked at me and told me everything that had happened. Thank you. I'm fine. I'm going to go back to sleep. When he's done, he can accompany me again, right? You've also been busy for a long time, so you should rest well. I smiled at Duanmu Quebec. I didn't know when it started, but the relationship between the two of us had become very awkward. At this moment, my stomach growled. I felt even more embarrassed. Duanmuke looked at me and laughed. He looked at me and said, "You must be hungry after sleeping for so long. I made some shark fin porridge. It shouldn't be cold yet. Hurry up and eat it." Then, Duanmuke took the lunchbox and opened the lid. A burst of shark fin porridge aroma assailed my nose. My stomach growled even louder. He took a spoon and stirred it evenly. Then he scooped a spoonful and gently blew on it. He held it in front of me. I glanced at him and drank the porridge. It tasted good. It seemed that Duanmuke had put a lot of effort into making it. Duanmuke looked at me and fed me spoonful by spoonful. Soon I finished the porridge. After eating, I felt very satisfied. I patted my bulging belly and looked at Duanmuke with a silly smile. Duanmuke looked at me and smiled. He reached out to stroke my hair and looked at me lovingly. His gaze seemed to bring me back to the good times when I was with him. My face was a little red. I turned my head and didn't dare to look at Duanmuke again. Duanmuke took out an apple from the cabinet and peeled it. He whispered to me, "Shaoli, I know you came to the hospital in a hurry, so I specially brought you something to eat. There are snacks you like, fruits and some bread. If you're really hungry, eat some. If it's not enough, tell me and I'll buy more." Okay, I know. Actually, you don't have to go through so much trouble. I'm only suffering from external injuries. I won't stay in the hospital for long. I'll be fine once I'm discharged. I always felt that while chatting with Duanmuke, he was advancing while I was retreating. I had a feeling of being oppressed. It was as if Duanmuke could eat me up at any moment. Duanmuke looked at me. He must have realized that I was avoiding the topic. He sighed and then said softly, "Okay, you're full. You should rest early. Don't worry, I'll be right by your side. I won't leave you tonight. You're a patient, so you should rest well." I lay on the bed. Duanmuke covered me with a blanket. I closed my eyes and fell asleep. But I couldn't sleep at all. I didn't know if it was because I was conflicted to be with Duanmuke, or because it was too awkward, or maybe it was because I'd slept for an entire afternoon. But I couldn't sleep at all. I just closed my eyes. My mind was in a mess. I could hear Duanmuke sighing as he sat beside me. After a while, Duanmuke said softly, "Shaoli, I'm sorry. I never knew that you were so important to me. As for Wang Luer, I had no choice. Everyone in the city probably knows about what happened to the Kurosawa. Wang Luer's father threatened me to marry Wang Luer in the name of helping my father. He said that if I didn't marry Wang Luer, he wouldn't invest in the Kurosawa. My father couldn't withstand the pressure and agreed. I don't have any feelings for that woman. You know, my parents' health isn't good. I was afraid that something bad would happen to them. So I endured the humiliation and agreed. I'm sorry, Shaoli, do you know? My feelings for you have never changed. I really don't want to leave you. I really want to stay by your side and protect you. But I'm not qualified. I'm not qualified to protect you. All I can do is help you when you need it. Compared to me, Han Hao is more suitable for you. Seeing how he cares for you so much, seeing how much he cares for you. I'm envious from the bottom of my heart, but I'm also jealous. But no matter what, I want you to be happy. He can give you happiness, so I'm satisfied." I only listened to Duanmuke's words. I pretended to be asleep and didn't dare to answer him. Answer him what? Answer him if I still have feelings for him in my heart. It would be a lie to say that I didn't love him. But in this situation, it was best to wish each other happiness. At this moment, Duanmuke continued, "But I'm already very satisfied now. I didn't expect you to be pregnant. Now that I've calmed down and thought about it, when you were pregnant, I was so violent towards you. How difficult it must have been for you to keep this child. I'm really an animal. I didn't even consider your feelings. Shaoli, I'm really sorry, but seeing Yi being so obedient and sensible under your tutelage, I feel very gratified. If she lived with me, it wouldn't be like this. Don't worry. When you and Han Hao get married, I won't take Yi away from you. I know that Yi likes Han Hao. Perhaps in her eyes, Han Hao is the image of a father in her heart. I don't want to break them apart either. Seeing the two of you happy together, I'm already satisfied. Shaoli, no matter what, as long as you're happy, that's enough. Listening to Duan Mukei's tone of voice, I could feel his helplessness. He was indeed facing a lot of difficulties now. I didn't know why, but when I heard him say that, I suddenly felt that he was very pitiful. I wanted to care for him, wanted to give him some comfort, but what kind of identity should I face him with? Chapter 246. After that, Duan Mukei didn't say anything else. I started to feel sleepy and slept deeply. When I woke up, it was already the next day. When I woke up, I didn't see Duan Mukei. I was the only one left in the room. Maybe he had already left. It seemed like he had stayed with me the whole night. Maybe he was too tired, so he left first. When I woke up, I was very hungry. Maybe it was because I was sick, but I ate a lot. I looked at the table and saw only a lunchbox. According to what Duan Mukei had told me, the food should be in the cupboard. My arm was still in a splint. I struggled to crawl to the side of the bed and stretched out my uninjured arm towards the cupboard. It looked like I was about to reach it, but I was already at my limit. At that moment, the door to the room was pushed open. Duan Mukei walked in with another lunchbox in his hand. When he saw me lying on the side of the bed, he was frightened. He shouted, "Don't move." I looked up at him and stopped moving. He quickly ran to me and put the lunchbox on the cupboard. Then he helped me up and put a pillow behind my back. Then he sat in front of me and looked at me with a serious face. "What are you doing? Why are you moving around? I just went out to get you some food, and you came to the side of the bed. What if you fell down? Are you going to continue with the cast?" I smiled awkwardly. "It's okay. I've already had 2 casts. One more won't make a difference." Duan Mukei glared at me. "You're still talking nonsense. Fortunately, nothing happened. If something had happened, how would I explain it to everyone?" I looked at Duan Mukei, who was really angry. I didn't say anything else and hid under the blanket, only showing my eyes to look at him. Duan Mukei sighed and opened the new lunchbox. He looked at me and said, "This is the breakfast I asked the nanny to prepare this morning. It's prepared according to your usual preferences. Come and try it." I looked at Duan Mukei, but didn't dare to come out from under the blanket. Duan Mukei looked at me and shook his head helplessly. All right. I apologize. Hurry up and eat. The food is getting cold." Seeing the Duan Mukei apologize to me, I smiled and sat up from the blanket. I looked at the breakfast on the cabinet. It was all my favorite food. There were soup dumplings, cold dishes, soy milk, and scallion pancakes. Since I couldn't move, I had to ask the Duan Mukei to feed me. He was very patient and fed me mouthful by mouthful. Halfway through breakfast, the door to the ward was suddenly pushed open. Han Hao walked in with a pile of breakfast. When he saw me and Duan Mukei, the 3 of us froze. Duan Mukei put down the bowl and looked at Han Hao. "Xiao Hao, I went to your house last night. Uncle Lung said that you went out of town to prepare for your wedding. I know that Suri and the others are very busy and don't have time to take care of Shaoli, so I came over. Last night, I watched her sleep and this morning, I brought her breakfast." Han Hao glanced at me and I nodded. Then Han Hao looked at Duan Mukei and said, "Thank you for taking care of Shaoli. I just came back from out of town and didn't have time to go home. I bought some breakfast and came over. Let's eat together." Han Hao pulled a stool from the side and sat next to Duan Mukei. Han Hao also put the food he brought on the cabinet. He bought all my favorite foods including fried dough sticks, tofu pudding, and poached eggs. Since Han Hao was here, Duan Mukei didn't feed me. I put the bowl on the cabinet and ate with my uninjured hand. Han Hao and Duan Mukei sat across from me. The 2 of them were also eating breakfast, but the 3 of us didn't speak. After breakfast, Duan Mukei took the initiative to clean up the things on the cabinet. Then he looked at Han Hao and me and said softly, Xiao Hao, you 2 stay here. I'm leaving first." I'll take the trash with me. If there's anything, call me. If there's nothing, why are you in such a hurry to go back? Han Hao looked at Duan Muke and asked. Duan Muke was stunned. I haven't been home for 2 days. I don't know how mom and dad are doing. I have to go back and see them. Duan Muke smiled at the two of us and turned to leave the room. At this time, Han Hao turned to look at me. Do you believe him? Believe what? I looked at Han Hao in confusion. Do you believe that Xiao Ke left because of this reason? Han Hao reached out and touched my face. I thought for a moment and shook my head. He looked at me and said, I don't believe it either. He just felt that it was too awkward to stay between the two of us. I leaned on Han Hao's hand and looked at him. He looked tired. It seemed that he had been busy the whole night. I still had at least 20 days before I would be discharged. I didn't know why he was in such a hurry. I looked at him and said, You look tired. You didn't sleep last night, did you? You have stubble on your face. Han Hao reached out and touched it, then softly said to me, Yeah, I didn't sleep well last night, so I went to my friend's place to order the furniture. When he heard that I was in a hurry to get married, he was quite surprised. He chatted with me all night and finally ordered the furniture. When we finished talking, I looked at the time and saw that it was already morning. I saw the message you left for me. I knew that you would have a problem eating breakfast after waking up, so I hurried back. I found your favorite breakfast shop in the suburbs, then bought breakfast and came over. But I didn't expect to see Duanmu Quebec. I knew that he was jealous. I looked at him and said, Xiao Ke was right. He really did come to accompany me. He knew that you guys couldn't accompany me, so he came. Don't think too much. I don't have anything to do with him anymore. I held Han Hao's hand. I knew what he was worried about. Han Hao looked at me and smiled. I know, but I know that he has feelings for you. He must have said something to you yesterday. If he really saw you as a friend, he wouldn't be in such a hurry to leave when he saw me. So he must have a guilty conscience. Hearing Han Hao say that, I was stunned. Duan Muke really did say a lot of things to me yesterday, but I pretended not to hear it. Now that Han Hao said that, I felt uncomfortable. I sighed. I pulled Han Hao's hand and said, You're thinking too much again. Didn't we agree not to talk about unhappy things? What you need to think about now is being together with me. Being a Red Minghui's son-in-law isn't easy. In the future, Father will give you a lot of tasks for the Red Minghui. When the time comes, you'll be busy. Don't even think about running away, you can't. I had no choice but to change the topic. Chapter 247. Han Hao looked at me and said, Forget it. I don't want to talk about it. You won't be happy if I talk too much. I don't want to make you unhappy. I smiled at Han Hao. I hooked my arm around his neck and kissed him on the cheek. Han Hao looked at me and smiled. He gently stroked my hair with a doting look on his face. Just then, the door to the ward was pushed open. Xin Yao and the others walked in with Yi. When Yi saw me, she burst into tears. I felt bad seeing her cry. Han Hao stood up and carried Yi to take off her shoes. Then he carried her to the bed and placed her next to me. Yi hugged me tightly and looked at me as she cried. I hugged her tightly and said softly, Baby girl, why are you crying so hard? Don't worry. Mommy is here. Yi hugged me and cried loudly, Mommy, Mommy, I missed you so much. Mommy, you didn't sleep with me last night. Mommy, I missed you so much. I suddenly felt relieved. Seeing that Yi cared about me so much, I was very happy. I hugged her and said softly, Be good. Mommy hasn't been feeling well for the past 2 days. Mommy will stay with you when she gets better, okay? Stay by Grandma's side during this time, okay? Mommy promises that I will come back to stay with you as soon as I get better. Just then, the Red Baron came in with a bunch of fruits and food. She looked at me and was stunned. Then she sighed and shook her head. I felt that she was a little strange. I handed Yi to Han Hao. Then, I looked at the Red Baron and asked softly, What's wrong with the Red Baron? Why do I feel that you are in low spirits? Did something happen? The Red Baron glanced at Han Hao and then looked at me. I have some bad news to tell you. Although your body is in such a condition, I still feel that I should tell you this. I didn't understand what the Red Baron meant. I looked at her and asked softly, What's wrong with the Red Baron? That day, Wang Luer was taken away by her father, and when the police arrived, they only arrested her friends, but didn't catch Wang Luer. They said that there wasn't enough evidence, so they didn't arrest her. I asked around, and I heard that when she returned home, she was grounded by her father, and all her followers were grounded. I heard that Wang Luer's father dotes on her very much, and he actually grounded her this time. It seems that he is really angry. Originally, it was pretty good, but for some reason, Wang Luer ran away from home in the middle of the night. Now no one knows where she has escaped to. I have inquired about their other addresses, and I have also gone there, but I didn't find her. I think it's very strange, and I'm afraid that she will harm you. You'd better be careful. What? She ran away. She went to look for my brother? Oh my God, she couldn't have really gone, right? It's over. Dad and Mom are in danger. Xingyao cried out in surprise. Hearing them say that, I realized the seriousness of the matter. If Wang Luer had really run away, she might have gone to look for the Duanmuke first. However, the Duanmuke was with me yesterday. Duan Mutachio and Xiaofengyao were really in danger. I couldn't sit still anymore. I sat up on the bed and looked at Han Hao. No, I have to go to the Duanmu's house quickly. Dad and Mom are in danger. Suri, hurry up and call the police. Tell them that Wang Luer ran away. Red Baron, let's hurry to the Duanmu's house. Mom and Dad won't be able to endure it. I sat up on the bed and put on my shoes. Just as I was about to leave, Han Hao reached out and held me in his arms. I struggled and said to him, Xiao Hao, let go of me. No matter what, I can't let Mom and Dad get hurt. Xiao Hao, I'm begging you, let me go. Han Hao looked at me and said softly, Dear, it's not that I don't want you to go. I'll go with you. No matter what the problem is this time, please let me face it with you, okay? I looked at him and nodded. The few of us packed up and left for the Duanmu's house. The Red Baron went back to my house first and handed everything to my parents. He also explained the situation. Han Hao drove very fast. He knew that I was very worried. Xingyao was crying the whole way. I knew that her ability to take a blow wasn't very good. No matter what, I had to do my best to ensure the safety of the Duanmu's family. When we arrived at the Duanmu's house, we stopped the car and found that the Duanmu's house was deserted. Soon I felt that something was wrong. At this time, Han Hao put his arm around my shoulder and said softly, Don't be afraid, dear. I'll always be by your side. Later, you can hide behind me. If anything happens, I'll take care of it. I nodded and the few of us walked in. As soon as we pushed open the door to the living room, we were shocked. The living room was a mess. Things were scattered all over the floor. We didn't know that there was no one in the living room. The whole house was dead silent. We stood in the living room and looked around, but we didn't see anyone. At this time, the door to the study room was pushed open. I heard Wang Luer's ear-piercing voice. She looked at us and smiled. You guys came pretty fast. If you hadn't come, I can't guarantee that these two old men wouldn't have been able to hold on until you arrived. Wang Luer sneered and pushed out 2 chairs from the side. Duan Mutachio and Xiaofengyao sat on them. They were tied to the chairs. Duan Mutachio's complexion wasn't good. It seemed that he had high blood pressure. Xiaofengyao's complexion was even worse. She was injured. It seemed that Wang Luer had attacked them. Xingyao looked at Duan Mutachio and Xiaofengyao and lost control of her emotions. She cried loudly. Suri hugged her tightly, afraid that she would do something stupid. I clenched my fists and looked at Wang Luer. Wang Luer, I'm the one you wanted to deal with. I'm here. Hurry up and let them go. The Duanmu's family didn't do anything wrong to you. If you want to do something, come at me. I won't hide. Do you think I'm stupid? There are so many of you here. Do you think I'm stupid enough to believe your words? These 2 old bastards have long found me an eyesore. What I did to them is already light. You want me to let them go? Dream on. Wang Luer looked at me with a sneer. Her current appearance was like a devil. Where is Duanmuke? What did you do to him? Han Hao looked at her and asked loudly. Indeed, I hadn't seen Duanmuke until now. Did he not come back? Wang Luer sneered. She walked to the side and pulled out 2 ropes. One was tied to Duanmuke, and the other was tied to Yu Xian. Duanmuke wasn't injured, but Yu Xian was very miserable. Chapter 248. Yu Xian's body was covered in blood. Her clothes were torn, and we could vaguely see her underwear. Her hair was disheveled, and she was lying on the ground. It seemed Wang Luo really wanted to kill her. At this time, Duan Muke slightly opened his eyes. When he saw us, he said in a low voice, You, why are you here? Hurry up and leave. It's dangerous. I looked at Duan Quebec looking at his injured appearance. I felt really helpless. Wang Luo walked to Duan Muke's side. She stretched out her hand and slapped Duan Muke's face. Wang Luo shouted, Shut up. They're willing to die. Why do you care about them? You never had me in your heart. Look at that cold glaze. That woman is like a slut. What do you like about her? I couldn't bear to let her torture Duan Muke anymore. I looked at Wang Luo and shouted, Hurry up and let them go. Wang Luo, you can't escape. Don't do too many things. It will only aggravate your crime. At this time, Duan Muke looked at Wang Luo and said, Okay, I'm begging you. Please let my parents and Yu Xian go. You can do whatever you want to me, okay? I'm begging you. Wang Luo smiled and said, Okay, since you're begging me, I'll give you face. I can let those two old things go. But as for that slut, I can't let her go. Wang Luo glared at Yu Xian. Yu Xian was still lying on the ground. Wang Luo walked to Yu Xian's side and squatted down. She sneered and tore Yu Xian's clothes. I heard waves of screams coming from Yu Xian. After a while, Wang Luo finally stopped abusing Yu Xian. She stood up. I looked at Yu Xian, who was lying on the ground. She didn't have anything to cover her body. Yu Xian lay on the ground, crying from time to time. Wang Luo clapped her hands and turned to look at us. I promised Duan Muke that I would let his parents go. Wang Luo hooked her finger at us. Xingyao and Suri quickly ran over. The two of them brought Duan Mutachio and Xiao Fengya out of the study. When they came to me, I gave them a simple check. Duan Mutachio and Xiao Fengya. Sure enough, Duan Mutachio had high blood pressure. I quickly took out some medicine from the living room and gave it to him. Duan Mutachio's complexion visibly improved. I turned to look at Xiao Fengya. Although her injuries were minor, they still needed to be treated carefully. I turned to look at Xingyao and said softly, Hurry up and take Dad and Mom to the hospital. Dad's situation is very dangerous, and Mom's injuries are also very serious. You have to go to the hospital quickly. We'll take care of things here. I looked at Xingyao and patted her shoulder. Suri nodded. He pulled Xingyao and quickly brought Duan Mutachio and Xiao Fengya out of the Duanmu's house. Only Han Hao and I were left. Wang Luo looked at me and sneered. What do you think? I kept my word, didn't I? Wang Luo walked in front of Duanmu Quebec. She reached out and hugged Duanmu Quebec. Then in front of me, she kissed him on the lips. Duan Muke kept resisting, but Wang Luo didn't let him resist. She tightly gripped Duan Muke's neck, feeling as if he was about to suffocate. Let go of him. I couldn't stand it anymore, so I shouted at Wang Luo. Wang Luo raised her head and sneered at me. She let go of Duan Muke and threw Duan Muke to the ground. Duan Muke lay on the ground coughing violently. Wang Luo flicked her hair and looked at me. Okay, I don't want to talk nonsense with you anymore. It's time to put an end to this. Wang Luo pulled out a gun from her handbag and pointed it at me. With a cold smile, she said to me, Other than me and Duan Muke, none of you will be able to leave this room alive. Since you want to be with Han Hao for the rest of your life, then I'll fulfill your wish. She pointed the gun at me, a devilish smile on her face, making people feel especially gloomy. Han Hao hugged me and put me behind him. In a soft voice he said, Shaoli, don't be afraid. I'll stay by your side. When you find an opportunity, run away. No matter what, don't put yourself in danger, okay? Han Hao tightly held my hand. I could feel his nervousness. Wang Luo looked at me and laughed loudly. Cold glaze. You bitch, go to hell. The moment the gunshot rang out, I grabbed Han Hao's arm and pulled him behind me. I stood in front of him and closed my eyes. I smiled bitterly in my heart. Maybe I would have to die again. I suddenly felt a lot of reluctance. I had already promised to marry Han Hao and had just returned from the gates of hell. Now I had to face death again. I suddenly felt very sad. I was waiting for the feeling of the bullet piercing through my chest, but I didn't feel it at all. I opened my eyes, and then my tears covered them. Yu Xian rushed in front of me and blocked the bullet for me. Yu Xian turned around and looked at me, blood flowing from the corner of her mouth. I looked at Yu Xian. It was the first time I saw her eyes so clear. When Wang Luo saw that Yu Xian had blocked the bullet for me, she angrily fired a few more shots at Yu Xian. Yu Xian's eyes widened. Yu Xian. I quickly ran in front of Yu Xian and hugged her. Her body was covered in blood. I looked at Yu Xian and whispered, "Why are you so stupid? You should live well." Yu Xian looked at me and smiled. "I owe you, and I can only repay it with my life." Cold glaze. I don't have the fortune to live with Duanmu K in this life. I hope you can take care of him. I'm sorry, Cold glaze. You must live well. Yu Xian's hand on my face suddenly slid down. The tears on my face couldn't stop flowing down. I loudly called out Yu Xian's name. Yu Xian. Yu Xian. Why are you so stupid? I hugged her. Although she wasn't my friend, she had sacrificed her life for me. How could I repay this kindness? Wang Luo seemed to be in shock. She probably didn't think that she would really kill someone. However, I couldn't care less. I just hugged Yu Xian and sat there crying. Han Hao reacted quickly. He ran in front of Wang Luo and snatched the gun from her hand, pressing her to the ground. At this moment, the Red Baron came in with the police. The police took Wang Luo and Yu Xian's body away. I was still very emotional. Han Hao stayed by my side. He hugged me tightly. I leaned on his shoulder and cried my heart out. So many things had happened today, and I couldn't accept it all at once. Duanmu K sat on the sofa. The medical staff had just come to treat his wounds. He had to go to the police station later to make a statement. Chapter 249. At this moment, a police officer walked over to us. He looked at us and said, "Hello, Miss Lung. We need you to cooperate with us to make a statement at the police station." "Thank you." Han Hao glanced at me, then looked at the police officer and said, "I'm sorry. Because we predicted that Wang Luo might come to Duanmu's house, my fiancée, and I didn't have time to get her discharged. My fiancée isn't feeling well, so she can't go to the police station to make a statement. How about this? I'll take her back to the hospital first, and then I'll go there. Is that okay?" Han Hao saw that the police officer was hesitant, so he continued, "How about you send a police officer to go with us to the hospital?" The police officer thought for a moment, then looked at Han Hao and said, "That's the only way. I'll arrange for someone to go with you to the hospital later." He turned to look at Duanmu K and said, "Mr. Duanmu, we'll have to trouble you to come with us to the police station." Duanmu K weakly opened his eyes and nodded. Han Hao brought me to the hospital room and left with the police officer. I called Suri. It turned out that Duanmu Tachio and Xiaofingya had also been sent to the hospital. After asking around for their specific location, I thought for a moment and decided to go and see them. I went to the door of Duanmu Tachio and Xiaofingya's room. Through the glass of the room, I saw Duanmu Tachio lying on the bed with many tubes inserted into his body. His eyes were tightly shut. Xinyao leaned on Suri's shoulder and cried softly. Xiaofingya had also woken up. She sat next to Duanmu Tachio, her face streaked with tears. I let out a long breath and pushed the door open to enter the room. Xiaofingya raised her head and looked at me. Her eyes were moist again. I walked to her side and reached out to touch her hand. "Mom, you're awake. Are you feeling better?" I whispered. Xiaofingya reached out to wipe her tears. "I'm fine. I'm much better. But your dad?" Xiaofingya choked with sobs. I looked at Duanmu Tachio and held Xiaofingya's hand tightly. "Mom, it's okay. Dad will definitely get better." I sighed. They had always treated me well, as if I were their own daughter. I had always thought of them as my own parents. Now that I saw Duanmu Tachio lying in front of me, my heart felt very uncomfortable. Xiaofingya sighed and looked at Xinyao. "Xinyao, you and Suri go out for a moment. I have something to say to Xiaoli. You guys go buy some lunch. You haven't eaten anything since morning." Xinyao nodded and left with Suri. After they left, I looked at Xiaofingya and asked, "Mom, what's wrong? Did something happen?" Xiaofingya tightly held my hand and softly said, Shaoli, Mom and Dad are sorry. We're really sorry. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. Mom, don't say that. You and Dad have always been good to me. In fact, this is also my responsibility. I didn't expect that Wang Luo would do this to you and Dad in order to get revenge on me. It's all my fault. If I had realized it earlier, then this wouldn't have happened. Xiao Fengya shook her head and said to me, this matter has nothing to do with you. Your father and I were really wrong. When I first saw Wang Luo, I knew she wasn't a good person. But you should have heard that after such a big thing happened in the Kurosawa, our family's finances were already unable to make ends meet. It was rare to have a lifesaver like Wang Luo. So how could we be willing to let her go? Wang Luo's father said that as long as Kair married Wang Luo, he would invest in the Kurosawa. I knew Kair didn't like her, but he couldn't dissuade his father. In the end, for the sake of the family, Kair agreed. When that girl was in our family, she was lawless. She threw things at Kair all day long and even pushed him, but Kair never resisted. I knew he could endure anything for the Kurosawa. Sometimes your father, and I couldn't stand it anymore, and would stop her. But later on, she would pretend to be obedient in front of us. When she was with the Duanmuke, she became a completely different person. Sometimes I felt like she was a female hooligan. She forced the Duanmuke to have sex with her more than once. I knew that it wasn't Kair's will. As a mother, seeing her own child endure such humiliation, I felt very uncomfortable. I wanted to talk to Kair several times, but he always avoided seeing us. Shaoli, if you didn't get divorced at that time, your life would be very happy right now. Shaoli, Mom and Dad let you down. We really let you down. Xiao Fengya cried even harder. I pulled Xiao Fengya's hand and said softly, Mom, don't think about it anymore, it's all in the past. Although Wang Luo escaped once, she will definitely be punished by the law this time. After all, a life for a life. What? A life for a life? What's wrong? What's wrong with who? Xiao Fengya looked at me and asked in confusion. I lowered my head, looked at Xiao Fengya and said softly, Mom, I'm sorry. In order to save me, Yu Xian took a bullet for me. She was killed by Wang Luo. I couldn't stop my tears from flowing out. Heavens! Xiao Fengya covered her mouth and cried even harder. Choking with sobs, she said, Poor Xian, she was so young, how could she? Xiao Fengya cried very sadly. I could only tightly hold her hand and silently stay by her side. After Xiao Fengya calmed down, she looked at me and said softly, Shaoli, don't feel guilty. Actually, when you were in our house, Yu Xian also did a lot of bad things to you. Ah, Mom, you knew? I looked at Xiao Fengya in surprise. Could it be that she already knew? If she already knew, then why didn't she stop it? Xiao Fengya nodded, then looked at me and said, Actually, I only found out this morning after Wang Luo came to our house and kidnapped us. She used the same method to deal with Wang Luo, but Wang Luo wasn't as magnanimous as you. She beat Yu Xian very badly. I only found out at that time. She had framed you so many times, and caused you to fall down the stairs and lose your child. She also seduced Duanmuke, and caused the conflict between the two of you. Shaoli, don't hate her anymore, okay? Although she's only my adopted daughter, I raised her for so long, and I still love her very much. No matter what, she shouldn't have used her life as an apology. Shaoli, promise Mom, don't hate her anymore, okay? Xiao Fengya looked at me with pleading eyes. I knew she was a kind woman, and none of this was her fault. After all, she didn't know what Yu Xian did, and Yu Xian had already left this world, so I didn't need to hate her anymore. Chapter 250. I looked at Xiao Fengya and said, Mom, it's all in the past. There's no need to hold a grudge. I've always believed in fate. Maybe it wanted me to live that way back then. Isn't everything fine now? Mom, don't think too much about it. Yu Xian will definitely go to heaven. I said that to make Xiao Fengya feel at ease. Her current physical condition wasn't very good. If she suffered too much at once, she wouldn't be able to bear it. So, I could only say some comforting words to make her feel better. At this moment, the door of the ward was pushed open. My parents walked in with Yi. When my mother saw Duan Mutachio lying on the bed, her eyes turned red. She walked to Xiaofengya and hugged her tightly. My mother said softly, Xiaoya, it must have been hard on you. I just received a call from Han Hao and rushed over. How could such a big thing happen? How is Li Xiong? Xiaofengya smiled bitterly and said, it's all in the past. Li Xiong is very good. He just passed the critical period. All of this is like a dream. But I don't want to think about it anymore. I'm really sorry that I had to trouble you to come here. What's there to be sorry about? This is what I should do. We've been sisters for so many years. No matter what, I should come and see you. It's just that Li Er didn't tell me about such a big thing. If it weren't for Han Hao, I wouldn't have known that such a big thing had happened. My mother looked at me with obvious dissatisfaction. Aya, don't talk about Xiaoli. Xiaoli is also injured. This is all our fault. If we hadn't led the wolf into the house, Wang Luo wouldn't have become so lawless. But she's already been taken away by the police. This time, she won't escape again. Xiaofengya probably thought about Yu Xian's death, and felt even worse. Her eyes were moist again. Then Yi ran from her father to me. She hugged my leg tightly, looked up at me and whispered, Mommy, I missed you so much. Looking at Yi's cute appearance, I couldn't carry her with my injured arm. I squatted down and looked at her. Yi, have you been obedient to your grandparents? You haven't forgotten what your mother told you to do, right? I stroked Yi's hair. With her by my parents' side, I felt at ease. Yi is very obedient. I've done everything Mommy told me to do. When Yi smiled, she looked a bit like Duanmu Quebec. Xiaofengya looked at Yi for a long time. Then she whispered to me, Xiaoli, is this your daughter? I stood up and looked at her. I knew that sooner or later, Yi's identity couldn't be hidden. I might as well tell her. I looked at my parents. They didn't say anything. They just looked at me silently. They respected my decision and wanted me to solve this problem. I thought for a moment and looked at Xiaofengya. Mom, this is my daughter. Her name is Lung Lingyu. We all call her Yi. She's my daughter. I paused and looked at her. She's also Duanmu Kei's daughter. What? Xiaofengya looked at me with wide eyes. I nodded. She turned to look at my mother. My mother nodded helplessly. Xiaofengya still couldn't believe it. She reached out and took my hand. What's going on? She asked softly. I let out a long breath and looked at Xiaofengya. Mom, actually before I divorced Duanmu Kei, I was already pregnant. At the time, I knew, but I didn't know how to face Xiao Quebec. At the time, I still loved him before he lost his memories. Although I couldn't bear to part with him, I still couldn't accept being with him. So we decided to divorce. After the divorce, I went to America to give birth to Yi. Yi and I stayed in America for more than 2 years, and just came back a while ago. Xiao Kei didn't know about this either. He only found out a while ago. Everyone else knew. But I didn't let them tell you or Dad. If you knew, it would be a burden for you. I still have the ability to take care of my daughter by myself. So I didn't want you to worry. I told Xiaofengya everything that had happened. Xiaofengya's surprised expression didn't change. She walked in front of Yi and squatted down. She looked at Yi, and Yi was a little scared. She hid behind my legs. I looked at Yi and said softly, Yi, don't be scared. This is your grandma. Yi looked at me, and then looked at Xiaofengya. She said softly, hello, Grandma. Xiaofengya's eyes were wet. She hugged Yi tightly and said softly, hello, hello. I didn't know why, but seeing Yi and Xiaofengya reunite made me feel very sad. Tears welled up in my eyes. Xiaofengya looked at Yi and then said to me, you don't say. When I look closely, she really does look exactly like Kei, or when she was young. Especially her eyes. They really look like her father. Xiaofengya hugged Yi and said softly, Yi, do you miss your father? If you do, Grandma will call your father. Yi's eyes lit up. She said loudly, are you going to call Dad? Quick, let Dad pick up the phone. Dad said he was going to take me to play with Grandpa. Grandpa? Your grandpa is lying in bed. He's sick now. When he gets better, he can take Yi to play. Yi looked at Duanmu Tachio, who was lying on the hospital bed. Her expression suddenly became very serious. She cried and said, not this grandpa. It's that grandpa. I've seen that grandpa's picture. He doesn't look like this. I want Dad. I want Grandpa. I saw that Yi was crying very hard. So I quickly took her from Xiao Fengya's arms and handed her to my mother. My mother carried Yi out of the room. Xiao Fengya looked at me in confusion. What's going on? Isn't Yi's grandpa Li Xiong? Then what grandpa is there? What's going on? I sighed and looked at Xiao Fengya. Mom, actually Yi's dad isn't Xiao Quebec. It's Han Hao. Her grandpa isn't dad either. It's Han Hao's father. No. How could Yi's father be Han Hao? What's going on? Hurry up and tell me clearly. Xiao Fengya was clearly anxious. Mom, calm down. Actually, I've already agreed to Han Hao's proposal. When I'm discharged from the hospital, the two of us will get married. Yi likes Han Hao a lot, and Han Hao loves Yi a lot. I have no reason to reject him. In the past, when I was with Xiao Ke, I couldn't see any other men. But now that someone is willing to take care of us, Chapter 251. Xiao Fengya held my hand and said, I understand. We don't have any reason to force you to be with K. You can also pursue your own happiness. Besides, Hao isn't a bad kid. As long as he's good to you and Yi, that's enough. It's just that Mom hopes that if you have time, you can bring Yi home to play, and let us old folks see the child. Is that okay? Xiao Fengya asked in a pleading tone. I felt uncomfortable listening to her pleading. Mom, that's okay. As long as you miss Yi, just give me a call, and I'll bring Yi over to you. That's not a problem. I could only say this. I couldn't think of any other good solutions. At this time, Mother looked at us and said, It's getting late. Li let Xiaoya rest. Let's go back to your room. I looked at the time. We really had been here for a long time. After saying goodbye to Xiao Fengya, we returned to my room. Father had to leave first because of Red Minghui. Mother took Yi and followed me back to my room. When we arrived, I saw that Yi was very engrossed in playing. I turned to Mother and asked, Mom, why did Dad come to the hospital with us? And he didn't say a word the whole time. After I received Han Hao's call, I was very anxious at that time and wanted to see Xiaoya. Their family really has a double whammy. I told your father about it, but he suddenly took the initiative to say that he wanted to go to the hospital with me. I think he probably wants to personally see how Li Xiong is like. I don't want to care about him, as long as he doesn't do anything excessive. My mother sighed. Indeed, I felt very uncomfortable when I saw my father observing others so attentively. I didn't know if Xiao Fengya had noticed, but I hoped she hadn't. At this moment, my mother looked at me and said softly, Did you give them the money? I shook my head and said, So many things have happened before I could. Too many things have happened recently. I had wanted to visit their house next week and give them the money while I was at it, but now it seems even more inappropriate. There's no suitable opportunity to give it to her at all. With Wang Luer's actions, I reckon that Wang Luer's father will be even less likely to invest in the Black Nightmare Society. Our little bit of money is just a drop in the bucket. They'll definitely need more. Seeing the old couple like this, I don't feel good. Yes, I can't ask your father to help them. Your father can't wait for them to go bankrupt. That way, he'll be the only business tycoon in a city. I know what he's thinking, but I don't agree with his actions of stepping on others to climb up the ladder. Mother's words were obviously angry. Okay, Mom, don't be angry. Let's secretly think of a way to solve this. Now that so many things have happened in their family, it's better to let them have some peace and quiet. If we get involved too much, it won't be good. That's true. But Xiaoli, there's something Mom doesn't understand. Is it appropriate for you to tell them about Yi's background so early? What if they want to fight with you for Yi? Have you thought about this problem? Mother looked at Yi. I knew that she was very reluctant to part with her, and I was also reluctant to part with her. I've thought about it before. If they really want to snatch Yi from me, I'll definitely go through the legal process. Nowadays, the custody of children is based on the couple's financial ability. Relatively speaking, my financial ability should be better than Duan Mukei's. Moreover, they don't know that I gave birth to a child, and they only found out about it 2 days ago. Just based on these 2 points, the court won't give Yi to them. So Mom, don't worry, Yi will definitely be our family's. It's just that if the old couple wants to see the child, I'll take the time to bring them over. I don't want to argue with them about anything else. And little K also knows that he's in the wrong. I watched Yi grow up little by little. I didn't know why, but she looked more and more like Duanmu Quebec. Perhaps this was family, a bloodline that could never be cut off. Alright, no matter what, as long as you're happy. Your father, and I can only support you in this aspect. We won't get involved in anything else. Mother looked at the time and said, Alright, it's about time. I'll go order some lunch. Yi and I will eat here today. I'll stay with you for a while. Han Hao seems to have to go to the bridal chamber to take a look after his statement. He said that he'll be back later. Oh, alright, I got it. Mother turned and left. Only Yi and I were left in the ward. Yi was still very focused on playing with her doll. Too many things had happened in the past 2 days. We didn't have time to take her to the early education center. But Yi was very obedient. She just quietly stayed by our side. As long as Han Hao and I told her to, she would obediently listen. I was very happy about this. After all, having such a well-behaved daughter saved me a lot of trouble. Just as my thoughts were running wild, the door to the ward was pushed open. Red Baron walked in. Looking at her sweaty face, I knew that she had been busy for a long time. I looked at her and said softly, You've worked hard. You've been busy for so long. Have you eaten lunch? I'll call Mom and ask her to buy more. The Red Baron slumped in the chair and looked at me. Shaking her head, she said, Don't call. I saw Madam on the way here. Madam said to bring my share too. Finally, everything is done. It was the first time I saw the Red Baron so tired. Indeed, she hadn't rested for a long time, ever since she started preparing for the birthday party. You've worked hard. After lunch, quickly go home and catch up on some sleep. Look at your dark circles. Looking at the Red Baron lying on the chair, my heart ached. Let's talk about it later. Let me tell you the whole story first. After rescuing you that day, I handed Wang Luer's friends over to the police. I don't know what information the police got, but I kept emphasizing that Wang Luer was the mastermind. But they insisted on classifying it as a simple kidnapping and extortion case. They found a random person and convicted him, saying that he was the main culprit and had nothing to do with Wang Luer at all. In fact, after Wang Luer's father came that day, he took Wang Luer away from the small door. Of course, the police didn't see Wang Luer. Later, one of our sisters disguised herself as a maid in Wang Luer's house and snuck into Wang Luer's house. Only then did we know that Wang Luer was grounded by her father. After that, we don't know how Wang Luer escaped. Chapter 252. The Red Baron sighed and continued. I asked the sisters who stayed at Wang Luer's house to report to me about her father's situation. They said that Wang Luer's father had broken down. It seems that he already knew that his daughter was in danger at that time. You know what happened after that. But there is one thing that I only found out about this morning, and it scared me to death. What could scare you? I looked at the Red Baron in confusion. The Red Baron looked at me and said seriously, Actually, on the night that Wang Luer escaped, she came to the hospital around 11 o'clock. She passed by your door. If it weren't for Han Hao's request that the patient's name not be written on the door of the ward, you might have been injured even more. What? Wang Luer came to my ward? I was very surprised. I thought back and said to the Red Baron, Now that you mention it, I seem to remember. That day, I did see a figure flash by the door, but then Duanmu K walked in. I always thought it was Duanmu Quebec. Could that be Wang Luer? That's her. I went to the nurse's station to check the CCTV. After Wang Luer passed by your ward, she didn't find you and left. Then Duanmu K walked out of the elevator and found your ward. The two of them missed each other. Otherwise, if Wang Luer knew which ward you were in, you would definitely be in danger. Fortunately, she didn't find you. So, I guess that she went to Duanmu K's house because she couldn't find you. She only had one purpose, and that was to force you to show yourself. After this incident, I've decided that I won't let you be in danger anymore. I've already told the president that I will send more people to ensure the safety of you and Yi. Who knows if there will be anyone who will do anything to you. I don't care what others do to me, but you can't get hurt. You can't let anything happen to you. Actually, when I saw you lying on the hospital bed covered in wounds, I felt very upset. You pushed Yi out of the door and asked her to go find Han Hao. I was afraid that someone would harm her on the way, so I kept protecting her in secret. But I neglected you. This is what I can't let go of the most. I've been reflecting on myself. Why couldn't I be in two places? If I could, would you not have suffered so many injuries? My heart hurts. The Red Baron's eyes teared up as she spoke. This should be the first time I've seen her cry. My heart trembled. I didn't expect that my stubbornness would cause her to be so conflicted. I held her hand and said softly, I'm sorry, Red Baron. I didn't think so much. I didn't consider your feelings. I'm really sorry. I won't do this again. Please don't be angry, okay? I really won't do this again. I promise you. The Red Baron looked at me. Her tears finally turned into a smile. She said softly, all right. I'm responsible for this too. My plan wasn't perfect. I thought that the kidnapper's motive was money. I didn't expect that their motive was to torture you. I'm sorry, Mississippi. I shouldn't have been too willful. I didn't consider your feelings at all. Red Jew, neither of us should blame ourselves. This matter is over. Let's start over, okay? You're sorry. I should be the one saying sorry. I shouldn't be so willful. I didn't consider your feelings at all. You can't be angry anymore. The Red Baron looked at me and nodded. Then, Yi ran up to the Red Baron and let the Red Baron carry her. The Red Baron carried her and kissed Yi deeply on her face. The Red Baron didn't understand what Yi was doing. She looked at Yi and asked, Yi, what's wrong? Why did you suddenly kiss me? Thank you, Red Baron Auntie. Yi hugged the Red Baron's neck and kissed her face. The Red Baron and I laughed. I looked at the Red Baron and said, did you see that? Even Yi knows that you're doing your best to protect us. We all know that, so don't feel guilty anymore. She was actually very lonely. In the entire Red Minghui, she was known as the #1 fighter in the Red Minghui. Within the Red Minghui, she was my father's right-hand woman. But to herself, I was probably her first friend. Gradually, Suri and Xinyao also became Red Baron's friends. Even the Red Baron's sweet smile would only appear when she was with us. Previously, when I attended an internal meeting of the Red Minghui, I saw the Red Baron reprimanding her subordinates with a stern expression and sharp words. Anyway, I definitely wouldn't be able to stand it if she did that to me. But because of her strictness, her subordinates all admired her, and no one dared to disobey her. Seeing the Red Jew fall asleep, I also closed my eyes and fell asleep. I didn't know how long I slept, but when I woke up again, the Red Jew on the sofa was gone. When I turned my head and saw her standing at the door, she made a gesture to me to keep quiet. I nodded. At this time, someone knocked on the door of the ward a few times, then pushed the door open and came in. The Red Jew rushed in front of the man, and the dagger in his hand was placed on the man's neck. I looked at the man, but I didn't know him. The Red Jew looked at her and said loudly, "Who are you?" The Red Jew looked at her and asked loudly, "What are you?" The man sneered and moved his head back slightly. The Red Baron saw that he was trying to escape, so she took another step forward and placed the dagger on his neck again. The Red Baron shouted, "Speak. Who are you?" I could see that her expression was very serious. It seemed that this man had angered her. The man looked at the Red Baron and said, "Your reaction speed is not bad, but your defensive awareness is too weak." Then he reached out and shook off the Red Baron's arm that was holding the dagger. The Red Baron raised her leg and kicked the man's stomach. She was really fast. If it had been anyone else, they would have been lying on the ground. But the man took advantage of the opportunity to grab the Red Baron's thigh with one hand. The Red Baron's fair thigh was exposed. The Red Baron raised her other leg and kicked the man's head. The man turned around and slammed the Red Baron against the wall. Chapter 253. The Red Baron was pressed against the wall and couldn't move. She glared at the man and roared, "Let me go! Who are you? Don't force me. Be careful, or I won't be polite to you." The Red Baron's face was very red. Only now did I notice that because the two of them had wrestled so violently, the Red Baron's long white legs were completely exposed. Her most private part was about to be exposed, but both of the Red Baron's hands were bound by the man. Seeing that the situation wasn't right, I jumped off the bed and directly jumped behind the man. I pointed the dagger at his neck and said softly, "Let her go. You still can't beat two of us." The man sneered and said softly, "Really?" I suddenly felt something pressing against my waist. I looked down and saw that the man's other hand was holding a dagger against my waist. He was just pressing against me, but he didn't hurt me. I was suddenly worried. Could it be that Wang Luo had sent him? My nerves suddenly tensed up. At this moment, someone walked in through the door. I looked out of the corner of my eye and saw that it was Han Hao. Han Hao looked at us and said softly, "What are you guys doing?" Han Hao looked at us with a puzzled expression. "Xiao Hao, this man's background is unknown. I don't know who he is." As soon as he came in, he started to wrestle with the Red Baron. "Xiao Hao, hurry up and stop him." I looked at Han Hao. He was the only one who could help at this time. Han Hao looked at us and laughed. He leaned against the door and said, "Han Hao, you've gone too far. You even dare to hold my wife hostage. This joke is a bit too much." Han Hao looked at the man and spoke as if they were very familiar with each other. The man put down the dagger against my waist and looked at the Red Baron. "I'll return your wife to you, but I won't let go of this woman." The man looked at the Red Baron with a strange expression. There was an indescribable feeling in his eyes. Han Hao walked to my side and whispered something in my ear. I was stunned at first. Then, I looked at Han Hao and smiled. Han Hao helped me to the bed. I lay down on the bed while he sat next to me. The two of us looked at each other, as if we were waiting to watch a good show. Han Hao had just introduced me to the man who was on top of the Red Baron. His name was Yang Shiza, and he was Han Hao's friend. He used to be the world's champion in kickboxing, and was now the chairman of a joint venture company. He was an ambitious young man, and he was proficient in all kinds of close combat techniques. Hence, it was impossible for the Red Baron to defeat him. Unless there was a special circumstance, the Red Baron would never carry a hidden weapon. Hence, there was no way she could defeat Yang Shiza today. However, Han Hao had just told me something that surprised me. It turned out that everyone in their circle was familiar with the name Red Baron, because the Red Baron was the best female fighter in close combat. Actually, Yang Shiza had come here to compete with the Red Baron, and to confess his love to the Red Baron. I had heard from Han Hao that Yang Shiza had already told him that he liked the Red Baron. Hence, he took the opportunity to pursue the Red Baron. That was why he was so violent towards the Red Baron. Han Hao and I looked at Yang Shiza and the Red Baron. Yang Shiza pinned the Red Baron down on the bed. The Red Baron's face was very red. I knew that she must be regretting that she didn't carry a hidden weapon with her today. Otherwise, she wouldn't have let Yang Shiza act so presumptuously. However, the Red Baron seemed to have realized that Han Hao knew him. She could only helplessly be pinned down by him. Her skirt had already lifted to her thighs and her entire thigh was exposed. This was probably the most embarrassing thing for her. At this moment, the Red Baron sighed and looked at Yang Shiza. "Let me go." Yang Shiza smiled and looked at the Red Baron. He was less than 10 centimeters away from the Red Baron's face. He said softly, "What's wrong? Have you given up resisting? You're not struggling anymore? Let me go. You and Han Hao know each other. I don't want to hit you. So let me go now." The Red Baron looked at Yang Shiza angrily. I had never seen the Red Baron so angry before. However, I could tell that Yang Shiza seemed to be even happier, because the Red Baron was angry. Yang Shiza looked at the Red Baron. He buried his head in the Red Baron's neck and said softly, "I can let you go, but you have to promise me one thing." He gently stroked the Red Baron's exposed thigh. The Red Baron's face turned red. She twisted her body to avoid it. I looked at Han Hao and whispered in his ear, "Xiao Hao, isn't this too much? Look, the Red Baron seems to be really angry." Han Hao shook his head and said, "No, don't worry. They will definitely be together. I promise." Looking at Han Hao's happy smile, I felt less nervous. After hearing Han Hao introduce the boy to me, I felt that he had good qualities. If he was sincere about the Red Baron, I also felt that he would be a very suitable candidate. The Red Baron closed her eyes and shouted, "Say it. What do you want me to promise you? Say it." The Red Baron's voice was very loud, but she didn't sound very confident. It seemed that she had really met a strong enemy. Young Shiza pressed against the Red Baron's body and said softly, "Will you be my girlfriend?" He gently kissed the Red Baron's face. "What?" The Red Baron looked at Young Shiza in horror. "Will you be my girlfriend?" Young Shiza looked at the Red Baron, and his gaze suddenly became very sincere. The Red Baron was stunned. She stopped struggling and looked at Young Shiza in horror. Her face was full of disbelief. Young Shiza saw that there was a chance. He let go of the Red Baron and said seriously, "I won't force you. I will pursue you until you say yes." The Red Baron saw that he had let go of her. She quickly straightened her skirt and looked at Young Shiza. "You stop dreaming. I will never say yes to you." I knew that the Red Baron was angry because she couldn't beat him. That was why her attitude was so tough. But looking at the Red Baron's blushing face, I felt that her heart must be beating very fast. I looked at the Red Baron and asked softly, "Red Baron, do you know who he is?" Red Baron glanced at him and said softly, "Yes, I didn't recognize him at first. It wasn't until Han Hao called him Young Shiza that I recognized him. It turns out that he is Young Shiza. He is a kickboxer. I don't think anyone can get close to him now. He is very strong. I have just experienced it." The Red Baron massaged her wrist. It seemed that Young Shiza had hurt her. She glared at Young Shiza and walked to my side. She looked at Han Hao and asked softly, "Han Hao, what is going on?" Chapter 254. Let me do the talking. Young Shiza walked to the bedside, grabbed a chair, and sat down. Then, he looked at the Red Baron and said, "I've been good friends with Han Hao since I was young. I went abroad to deal with some company matters. So I didn't know that Han Hao had so many things happening in China. Also, he told me that he was busy with his wedding, so I stayed by his side. First, I could protect him, and second, I could help him. Han Hao and I were talking about how I won the competition. So we talked about the Red Baron. Because the Red Baron is too famous in our circle. Everyone said that the Red Baron is a great beauty, but I still wanted to see her in person. So, I used my connections, and finally found a picture of the Red Baron. It was taken secretly, but I fell in love with her the moment I saw her, and I couldn't help myself. Later, Han Hao told me that the Red Baron is Cold Glaze's personal bodyguard. At that time, I couldn't wait to see her. When I saw the Red Baron for the first time, I wanted to take her for myself. This kind of possessiveness might be a little scary, but I really like her. So Miss Lung, please help me. Help me pursue the Red Baron." Looking at Young Shiza's sincere expression, I felt a little warm in my heart. It seemed that the Red Baron had met the right person this time. Before I could open my mouth to agree, the Red Baron looked at Young Shiza and said, "Young Shiza, I advise you not to trouble yourself. I won't fall in love with you, and I don't plan on dating either. I still have my own career to do, so don't trouble yourself." The Red Baron rejected him very straightforwardly. I didn't know if she was really angry, or if she was testing Young Shiza. I could see that the Red Baron's mood wasn't stable, and Young Shiza was indeed anxious. I smiled and looked at Han Hao and said, "Xiao Hao, take Young Shiza to buy some food." I gave Han Hao a meaningful glance. Han Hao immediately understood what I meant. He stood up and patted Young Shiza's shoulder. "Let's go. Come with me to sell some things. We'll be back soon." Young Shiza stood up in disappointment. He turned around to look at the Red Baron, and followed Han Hao out of the ward reluctantly. The Red Baron and I were the only two people left in the room. I could see that the Red Baron was still angry. I looked at the Red Baron and said softly, "Okay, you're still angry." The Red Baron sighed. "How could I not be angry? It's the first time I've met someone like him. If it weren't for the fact that I couldn't bring hidden weapons with me when I was on duty, he wouldn't have been able to beat me. He's too much. I let him take advantage of me. I'm so angry." Looking at Red Jew's angry face, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. I looked at Red Jew and said, "I don't think there's anything wrong with him. He just loves you too much and wants to pursue you. And I think your reaction to him is quite strong. This is the first time I've seen you blush. It seems that you have feelings for him. Red Jew, there are only two of us here. Tell me the truth, do you also like him? Red Ju was stunned when she heard me say this. Her expression also became less angry. Red Ju sighed and whispered to me. Actually, I have known him for a long time. He is the most famous in their circle, and there are a lot of girls who chase after him. The first time I saw him was at their party. At that time, I only went to develop the Red Tea Society's external fighter. At that time, I was heavily armed, and no one recognized me, so I just quietly watched them play. I recognized young Shiza at a glance, but we didn't have much interaction. Later, because I received a call from the society, I left early and never saw him again. This is the second time we met, and he suddenly confessed to me. It would be strange if I could accept it. So you're blaming him for not giving you time to prepare? I heard the Red Baron's words. It seemed like she really did have feelings for young Shiza. I looked at the Red Baron and said, young Shiza is really not bad. I don't object to you testing him, but if he's really good to you, you should accept it. Don't miss it. The Red Baron was stunned. She thought for a while and said to me, Miss, it's not that I don't want to fall in love. It's that I can't fall in love right now. Wang Luo's matter hasn't been resolved yet, and there are still many unknown dangers around you. How can I be at ease and pursue my own happiness? That's why I can't put you aside and only care about myself. Miss, please don't try to persuade me. A trace of disappointment flashed through the Red Baron's eyes. I reached out to hold the Red Baron's hand and said, Red Baron, don't worry about this for now. Just give him a chance. What if he's really suitable for you? You should be happy together. I really want you to be happy. Don't just think about me for everything. You have to think about yourself too. I'll make the decision for you. Give him a chance. If he bullies you, Han Hao and I won't let him off, okay? The Red Baron bit her lip. She looked really charming. She thought for a while, and finally sighed helplessly and nodded. At this moment, Han Hao and young Shiza walked in. Han Hao sat next to me. I smiled and gave Han Hao a look. Han Hao immediately understood and smiled at me. At this moment, the Red Baron looked at young Shiza and said, Young Shiza. Here. I'm here. What orders does my dear Red Baron have? Young Shiza jumped in front of the Red Baron and looked at her with a smile. The Red Baron sighed helplessly and said, Young Shiza, I will consider what you said just now. I have a lot of things to deal with right now, so I'm only giving you a chance. However, I won't necessarily agree to it. In my eyes, only Milady is the most important. I hope you understand. Really? That's great. You finally agreed to it. That's great. Young Shiza looked like a happy child. It was very cute. He reached out and hugged the Red Baron's waist. He looked at her and said softly, That's enough. As long as you don't reject me, it's fine. The Kurosawa reached into his pocket and took out a box. He handed the box to the Red Baron and said softly, I know you don't like jewelry, but you like to collect a lot of strange things. This is a stone that I specially found for you. It's a natural blue pebble. Although it's just a stone, it's very rare. I prepared it for a long time. I hope you like it. Young Shiza let go of the Red Baron and opened the box. It was a very delicate oval blue pebble. Chapter 255. The Red Baron's eyes immediately lit up. I knew she must really like this stone. The Red Baron looked at young Shiza and said softly, Thank you. This stone is very beautiful. I'll accept it. Young Shiza looked at the Red Baron accepting his gift, and suddenly became very happy. Then he said, Han Hao and I didn't buy anything just now. Let's go out and buy something to eat. Then he pulled the Red Baron's hand and left. Only Han Hao and I were left in the room. Watching the two of them leave, I couldn't help but sigh. Han Hao looked at me and reached out to pat my head. Idiot, did those two disturb you? I'll teach Caesar a lesson for you later. He's just like that. He'll slowly get used to it. Not really. I think Caesar is pretty good. He'll definitely treat the Red Baron well. After interacting with the Red Baron for so long, you should be able to tell that the Red Baron is a girl with a hard mouth, but a soft heart. Right now, I really hope that she can meet the right man for her. Young Shiza is pretty good. If possible, let's try to set them up. Han Hao pursed his lips and looked at me. You still have time to think about other people? Why don't you think about what's going on between the two of us? Han Hao looked a little unhappy. I gently rubbed his palm and said softly, "All right, didn't I already agree to marry you? So don't be jealous and think too much. The two of us have already gotten married, but the two of them haven't. I'm just worried, so don't be angry." Han Hao sighed and looked at me. All right. Whatever you say. I can't help it. Who told me to love you so much?" Han Hao cupped my face and kissed me on the lips. I smiled and looked at Han Hao. Looking at his handsome face, my heart felt very comfortable. Now that I think about it, I should be a very lucky person to have such a perfect lover. Han Hao suddenly seemed to remember something. He looked at me and said softly, "I just came from Uncle Duanmu's room. Uncle Duanmu's situation doesn't look too good." "What? What's going on? Tell me in detail. What happened to Dad?" I suddenly felt a little worried. Han Hao looked at me and sighed. Uncle Duanmu may have received a strong external stimulus, which then led to high blood pressure and heart disease. Although his life is no longer in danger, he's still in a severe coma. He hasn't woken up yet. Even the doctors can't guarantee that he won't wake up. Right now, Auntie Xiao is very sad. Xingyao is also crying very sadly. Fortunately, Suri is always by her side. It's all my fault. If I hadn't angered Wang Luer, if I hadn't realized that she would deal with Duanmu Ke and his family, so many things wouldn't have happened. Dad wouldn't be like this. It's all my fault. What about Xiao Ke? He's also here, right? His mood is still stable." Han Hao sighed. "He's also here, but his condition isn't good either. He suffered too big of a blow. Now that their family is in such a situation, more and more things are happening. They definitely can't take it anymore. Also, Xingyao just found out that she's pregnant. Her condition isn't good either. More and more things are happening, but she doesn't know how to help them." "What? Xingyao is pregnant?" I couldn't believe it, but I was also very happy. After all, she and Suri have been married for so long, so they should have a baby. Han Hao nodded. "Yeah, she's been pregnant for 3 months. She doesn't even know it herself. If she hadn't fainted from grief, and the doctor hadn't found out that she was pregnant, she probably wouldn't have felt it until her belly was big. But her body is malnourished, and she's also in the stage of keeping the baby. She's already in the hospital, right next to Uncle Duanmu's room. Don't worry, Suri is already by her side." I smiled bitterly and looked at Han Hao. "This is great. During this period of time, everyone will be going in and out of the hospital. I'm fine now, but none of you will let me leave the hospital. You want me to recover before I go out. But it's really stuffy here, and I can't take care of Yi anymore. I don't know if she's been good or not. She's so smart. I'm afraid that my parents won't be able to control her. You shouldn't accompany me during this period of time. You should go and take care of Yi for me. She's the only one who listens to you. Sometimes, I have to reason with her, and I might not be able to outtalk her." Han Hao looked at me and smiled. "Of course, I'll accompany Yi when I have time. Don't worry. I might not be able to come here often during this period of time. After all, there's the renovation of the house, the wedding preparations, and the company matters. I also have to take care of Yi, so I might not be able to take care of everything. That's why I asked Caesar to come and accompany you. With Red Baron and Caesar by your side to protect you, I'll be at ease. Otherwise, I really won't be at ease if you're alone. I can't let anything happen to my bride. Don't worry, I got it. You can go and do your things. I'll be fine alone. Just let the two of them have a good date. Don't let me affect them." I reached out and touched Han Hao's face. Actually, my heart ached for him. He was very good to me. I knew that he was preparing for his wedding very carefully. How could I be so stubborn as to only let him be good to me and not understand him? I looked at him and said, "I know you're very busy, and I also know that you're busy with things for our future. I can't help you now, so I can only ask you to do these things. But you must take care of your body. You've lost weight recently, and you've become a lot more haggard. I don't want to see you like this, it will make my heart ache." Han Hao nodded and looked at me. I know you're very anxious too. Don't worry, didn't the doctor say that you're recovering well? You just have to be at ease and wait to be discharged. Don't think about anything else. Just be at ease and be my bride, as long as you don't regret marrying me. How could I regret marrying you? I'm very happy that you're willing to take me and Yi in. As long as you don't give up on us, we'll be fine. Don't think that we're a burden to you. Han Hao looked at me with a black face. It seems that at this time, Yi is much cuter than you. Yi wouldn't threaten me like this. In this world, only you can treat me like this. I don't have a temper. Actually, my temper is quite bad. If anyone dares to take an inch and want a mile, I definitely won't forgive them. Only you can see this gentle side of me. Chapter 256. I spent a few more days in the hospital. The doctor would come to check on me on time every day. He said that I was recovering well and could be discharged in a few days. Han Hao was busy with his wedding and his work, so he rarely came to visit me. On the other hand, as long as the Red Baron was here, he would definitely appear. He would stay as long as the Red Baron was here. Also, we never had to worry about food. He would prepare everything properly. Over the past few days, other than my parents who brought Yi to visit me a few times, Xiao Fengya came to visit me twice. Every time she saw me, she would look very guilty. Actually, I should be the one who was sorry, but she insisted that they were the ones who had wronged me. Duan Muke didn't appear for the past few days. I didn't know what he was busy with. I guessed that there was no one to manage the Kurosawa, so he went back to take charge. Ever since I found out that Xinya was pregnant, I was very nervous. I went to her ward to visit her, but she wasn't in a good state of mind. She was fine when she was sleeping, but she would get emotional and cry easily when she woke up. I heard from Suri that her body was weak to begin with, and on top of that, she had suffered a huge blow. She could only stay in bed to protect the baby. If she were to be agitated again, she might not even be able to keep the baby. I once asked Suri who he would choose if he had to choose between Xinyao and the baby. At the time, Suri told me without hesitation that he would choose Xinyao, because in his eyes, Xinyao was more important than the baby. At the time, I felt very comforted. We could have more children, but we could only love one person. I asked the Red Baron to buy a batch of imported maternity products for Xinyao to ensure her health. I hoped that her condition would improve. I also asked the Red Baron to buy some health products and send them to Duan Mutachio's ward. Xiao Fengya had come to visit me twice, and I felt that she had become more haggard and thinner. I was worried that she wouldn't be able to take the pressure and collapse, so I asked the Red Baron to arrange for a few close friends to guard outside their ward. If there was any news, they would inform me immediately. The days passed like that. Han Hao was very busy every day. He could only contact me when he wasn't busy. Sometimes, before he left in the morning, he would come to my ward to take a look at me before leaving. Sometimes, when it was very late at night, and the visiting hours had passed, he would sneak into the ward to see me. If he was really tired, he would sleep on the sofa next to me. My heart ached when I saw him sleeping soundly. He must have not had a good rest for a long time. I just lay on the bed and watched him. Just like that, I could watch him for the entire night. Perhaps this was companionship. Although we didn't talk much, it was very warm. The next day, when I couldn't take it anymore and fell asleep, I didn't know when Han Hao had left. That was how the two of us were. Although we had only known each other for a short time, we understood that our hearts were tied to each other. That was enough for me. On this day, I sat by the window of the ward and read as usual. Young Shiza brought a lot of new and strange gadgets for the Red Baron. The two of us studied them very seriously. Seeing that the Red Baron gradually let down her guard, I felt that it was good. It seemed that she had gradually accepted Yang Shiza. When it was almost time for lunch, the door to the ward was pushed open. The person who walked in was none other than Duanmu Quebec. I hadn't seen him for a long time. Compared to the past few days, his mental state wasn't very good. After he closed the door, he walked directly to the sofa and sat down. It seemed that he had been tired for a long time. I looked at the Red Baron and Yang Shiza and said, "Red Baron, you and Yang Shiza can go out first. I have something to discuss with Duanmu Quebec." The Red Baron nodded and led Yang Shiza out. Only Duanmu K and I were left in the ward. I looked at him. He leaned his head back on the sofa and closed his eyes. It seemed that he hadn't rested well for a long time. I looked at him and asked softly, "How's Dad?" Duanmuke shook his head and said softly, "Not good. The doctor has checked on him many times. I don't know how long it will take for him to wake up. Mom can't take it anymore. She wants to pull out the tube and go home. I don't want to see her disappointed face, so I hid here." "Huh. You can't pull out the tube. If you pull it out, Dad won't be able to be saved. At least for now, there's still a ray of hope." When I heard that Xiao Fingyao was about to give up, I couldn't help but tremble. How fragile a human's life was. "If you have time, please help me persuade Mom. She listens to you more than anyone else. Xingyao's condition isn't good either. She needs to protect the baby. If it weren't for Suri's help, I wouldn't have been able to take care of her. There's also a lot of things to do in Kurosawa. I really can't handle it." Duanmuke then lay down on the sofa and curled up. It was a sign of insecurity. He must be in a lot of pain. At this time, there was no one to help him. "How are things in Kurosawa? Is there anything else you need to do?" I looked at Duanmuke. I didn't know if there was anything I could help him with. Duanmuke sighed and said, "Sigh, don't bring it up. I've just finished dealing with Yusun's funeral 2 days ago, and finally entered her into the genealogy as a daughter with a different surname from the Duanmu family. That's a little repayment from our family. Because of Wang Luer's incident, the fact that she intentionally committed murder cannot be changed. The trial hasn't been held yet, and we don't know what kind of crime she'll be convicted of. But with Wang Luer's father's power, she definitely won't be sentenced to death. Her father has already withdrawn his investment, and the entire Black Nightmare Society is now an empty shell. Other than a few projects that can still be maintained, the other projects have all stopped. Or rather, I should say they've all stopped. The board of directors is under so much pressure, and I can't hold on much longer." I thought for a moment, then walked to the cabinet and took out the 5 million yuan bank card that my mother had given me and the 10 million yuan bank card that I had taken out myself. I walked to Duanmuke and handed him the 2 cards. "I can't help you with anything," I said softly. "These 2 cards have 15 million yuan in them. You should use them for emergency relief and restore some profitable projects. Don't go bankrupt for real. You still have your parents, your sister, and your unborn child. They all need you, so you have to hold on. I know that this amount of money is only a small amount, and I can't take out that much." Duanmuke raised his head and looked at me. He said softly, "Some time ago, someone invested 10 million under Lin Yu's name. That person was you, right? Although it's not your real name, this method is definitely yours. I won't be wrong." Chapter 257. Tell her not to worry. Dad will definitely get better. Also, I don't know if you know Han Hao's friend, but he's called Yang Shiza. He's the boss of a company. I can ask him to buy your company's loss-making companies. That way, you can relieve some of the pressure on you." Duanmuke took the bank card and looked at me. "That won't be necessary. After all, he's not someone I'm particularly familiar with. If it negatively affects his company, I'll feel even more apologetic. Don't worry, I'll accept these 2 sums of money. When the Black Nightmare Society recovers, I'll return them to you as soon as possible. Altogether, it'll be 25 million. I'll always remember it." I smiled. "That won't be necessary. I'll use this money to buy back the good times I spent with you. Although I don't want to forget them, I've already decided to be with Han Hao. I can't live with him for the rest of my life with those memories. That would be disrespectful to him." I knew my words were a bit harsh. Duanmuke's face didn't look good. I could see that he was very disappointed. After a while, Duanmuke nodded. "Okay, I understand. If you want to forget, then forget. But I'll still return the money to you. If I forget, then forget, but I can't owe you." I nodded. Looking at Duanmuke, I said, "And as you wish. Han Hao and I also hope to receive your blessings for our wedding. After all, we don't want to lose a friend like you." Duanmuke nodded. "Shaoli, can I rest here for a while? I'm afraid that Mom and sister won't feel good when I see them, so I want some peace and quiet. Can I sleep here for a while? I'm really tired." Duanmuke closed his eyes and laid down on the sofa. Okay, sleep. I'll get you a blanket. You sleep. I walked to the wardrobe and took out a blanket to cover Duanmu back. Not long after, he fell asleep. Looking at his sleeping appearance, I suddenly felt that he had become much quieter. Being quiet wasn't a bad thing, but it was a pity that he no longer belonged to me. I sat down next to Duanmu and watched him sleep. I couldn't help but reach out and stroke his face. In fact, I knew that Duanmu was very good. Maybe the two of us really weren't destined to be together in this life. I hoped that he would be able to get through this difficult time, find a suitable man and pursue his happiness. Duanmu slept at my place for more than an hour. He received a call, woke up and left. He didn't say much to me. Looking at his departing figure, I didn't think too much. He wasn't someone who belonged to me anymore. Why should I think about other things? I just smiled bitterly. Let's end this like this. The days after that were very peaceful. Xinyao also recovered a lot and was no longer as depressed. Duanmu also gradually reacted. It seemed that he wouldn't be long before he woke up. I heard from Suri that the 15 million I gave Duanmu had been put to good use. 3 projects had already resumed operations, temporarily solving some problems. As for some projects that could only be solved by bankruptcy, they had yet to be dealt with. I discussed this matter with Han Hao and Yang Shiza. Yang Shiza also agreed to buy some projects to help the Black Nightmare Group. Overall, everything was developing in a good direction. This was the result that all of us wanted to see. Finally, the day of my discharge arrived. He came to the ward early to give me a checkup. He said that I was recovering well, and that I could be discharged with peace of mind. My injuries had already healed. On the day of my discharge, Han Hao came to the hospital early to help me with the discharge procedures. After everything was arranged properly, we were discharged. I followed Han Hao into the car and headed in the direction of my home. I suddenly remembered something. I looked at Han Hao and said, "Xiao Hao, let's take a detour to the cemetery. I want to see someone." Han Hao was stunned. He seemed to understand and nodded. We changed our route and headed in the direction of the cemetery. When we passed by a flower shop, I specially bought a bouquet of flowers for worship. The person I was going to see was very important to me. When we arrived at the cemetery, I looked at Han Hao and said, "Why don't you wait for me at the entrance?" Han Hao shook his head and said to me, "Since we're here together, let's go see her together. Although she and I can't be considered friends, she's still a very important person to me because she saved your life." I looked at Han Hao and nodded with a smile. Then I took Han Hao's arm and walked through the entrance. When I arrived in front of Yu Xian's tombstone, there was a bouquet of flowers in front of it, but they had already withered. It looked like they had been there for a long time. I picked up the bouquet of flowers and placed them in front of her tombstone. On the tombstone was a picture of Yu Xian. It was a black and white picture, but there was no smile on her face. I squatted down and reached out to touch the picture. My heart was heavy. Looking at the picture, I softly said, "I'm sorry I'm late. I just got out of the hospital and only just got the chance to see you. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. Although our relationship wasn't very good when you were alive, I never held a grudge against you. I'll remember you taking a bullet for me for the rest of my life. Don't worry. I've already arranged for people to come and clean for you regularly and talk to you. Don't worry, you won't be alone. Although we weren't good friends when you were alive, from now on, I'm your friend, and I always will be." My tears flowed down uncontrollably. Han Hao walked to my side and put his hand on my shoulder. He softly said, "Darling, don't be sad. She'll be very happy if we can come and see her. Don't be too sad." I reached out and wiped the tears from the corners of my eyes. I just feel that life is really too fragile. She's still so young. Although I used to hate her, there are still a lot of things that I can't bear to part with. Han Hao helped me up and said softly, "All right, don't be too sad. It's getting late. Let's go back first. Dad, Mom, and the rest are still waiting for us at home. They still have to discuss the wedding. We still have a lot of things to do now. You have to cheer up. If you're unhappy, I'll be unhappy too, okay? Darling." Chapter 258. Han Hao held me in his arms and gently patted my shoulder. Darling, no matter what, I will always be by your side, he said softly. I nodded and looked at Yuxian's picture. It's getting late, so we'll head back first. I'll come back to see you after a while. You have to wait for me. With that, Han Hao and I left the cemetery and headed home. When we got home, my parents, the Red Baron, and young Shiza were already waiting for us in the living room. As soon as Han Hao and I stepped into the living room, Yi ran towards me from her mother's side. She looked at me and shouted, "Mommy, you're back." Seeing Yi run towards me, I quickly picked her up and hugged her tightly. "Yi, Mommy's back. Have you been obedient and listening to your grandparents? This time, Mommy won't leave you again." I gently patted Yi's back. Hugging her like this made me feel very comfortable. At this time, Han Hao sat down on the sofa and looked at his parents. "Uncle, Auntie, Xiaoli has been discharged from the hospital, and I'm almost done preparing for the wedding. I will now formally propose marriage to you. I, Han Hao, would like to take your precious daughter, Cold Glaze, as my wife. I hope you will agree." Han Hao placed a bank card on the coffee table in front of my parents. He then looked at my parents and said, "This is the betrothal gift that my family prepared. There's 500,000 yuan inside. I know that this amount of money is too little for the Red Minghui, but this is a token of my sincerity. I promise you that I will treat Xiaoli well, and after we get married, I will take Yi with me. I will definitely treat Yi as my own daughter. I will definitely do that." I looked at Han Hao's expression. My parents looked at Han Hao. The two of them looked at each other, but did not answer. I stood up and walked to Han Hao's side. I held his hand and looked at my parents. "Dad, Mom, I really want to be with Han Hao. Through the time that we've spent together, I think you should be able to see that Han Hao and Yi hit it off very well. So Dad, Mom, please allow me to be with Han Hao. We truly love each other." I held Han Hao's hand tightly, hoping that he could feel my sincerity. Han Hao also held my hand tightly. The two of us stood in front of my parents like this, as if we were about to make a very important decision. My parents looked at each other again. Then my mother looked at me and smiled. "Of course we agree. As long as you two are happy, we don't care about anything else. As for Yi, I've already discussed it with your father. If the two of you want to spend some time together, we can take care of Yi. That's not a problem, as long as you two are happy. If you need us to prepare for your marriage, just tell us directly. If we can help, we will definitely help." When Han Hao and I heard that our mother had agreed, we both smiled sincerely. After chatting with my parents, Han Hao and I went upstairs to the bedroom. As soon as we entered the bedroom, I lay down on the bed, as if I had just accomplished something important. Han Hao lay down beside me. He reached out his hand and gently stroked my hair. "Dear, you look very happy. Is it because Dad and Mom agreed to our marriage?" he asked in a soft voice. "Yes, Dad and Mom agreed to our marriage." I raised my head and looked at him, lying directly on top of him. I looked at Han Hao and smiled. Lying tightly in his arms, I whispered, "I've been waiting for this day for a long time. I'm really happy to be able to be with you like this. I always feel that happiness is just that simple. I have an indescribable feeling to have you. Silly, don't think about it. Wait for me. Wait for me. In 2 days, I will marry you for real." Han Hao cupped my face and kissed me deeply on the lips. Happiness is really simple. My heart was pounding. I was going to marry Han Hao. I was a little excited. After preparing for a long time, the wedding day finally arrived. I woke up early and started to get busy. For my wedding with Han Hao, the Red Baron was my bridesmaid. Of course, young Shiza was Han Hao's best man. Everything on the wedding day was arranged by the Red Baron and young Shiza. They didn't need us at all. Han Hao and I were only responsible for being the main characters of the wedding. After I finished dressing up, my mother stood next to me and looked at me. "My daughter has really grown up. You've been smiling during your wedding. It looks like you're really happy. As long as you're happy, Dad and Mom are satisfied." Red Baron stood next to me. She looked very beautiful in her bridesmaid dress. She looked at me and smiled. "Bride, don't be nervous today. I just contacted Caesar. They're already on their way here. They'll be here soon." My face was a little red. It looked like I was really nervous. Today E was the flower girl. Early in the morning, she held her fairy wand and played happily with her friends. Thinking that she was about to hold her wedding with Han Hao, my heart was beating very fast. "They're here." A voice came from the crowd. I stood in front of the bedroom window and saw that the motorcade had already arrived at the entrance. Han Hao got out of the car. He was wearing a black suit today and looked very handsome. I was so nervous that I didn't know what to do. Fortunately, the Red Baron told me what to do. After messing around at home for a while, Han Hao picked me up and went to the wedding banquet. While I was waiting in the dressing room backstage, the door to the dressing room was pushed open. Duan Muke walked in from outside. He looked at me and smiled. "Congratulations on your wedding, Xiaoli. You look very beautiful today." "Thank you. Are Xinyao and Suri here?" "Xinyao is pregnant. Is she doing well?" I looked at Duan Muquebec. He was wearing a white shirt today and looked very simple. "She's doing well. She's already here." Because it's too messy here, I was afraid that she would bump into something. So I asked Suri to accompany her to the table outside. "I also came to see you. Do you need any help?" Duan Muke looked at me. His expression was very calm. I didn't know if he was really calm, or if he was just pretending to be calm. "I'm fine here. You should go to the table. It's about to start. After the wedding, we'll have a good gathering." I looked at the time and said to Duan Muquebec. Duan Muke thought for a moment, then walked to my side. He took out a gift box from his jacket pocket and handed it to me. He said softly, "This is the wedding gift I prepared for you. I don't know if you'll like it, but it's just a small gift. It's also what I owed you in the past. This time, it's just the right time to make up for it. I hope you'll accept it." Chapter 259. I was stunned for a moment. Then I looked at the Duan Muke and nodded, accepting his gift. The wedding was about to begin, so the Duan Muke left the dressing room. I opened the gift box he had given me, and there was a beautiful bracelet inside. It looked very familiar. I immediately remembered it. When I was with the Duan Muke, we went shopping once and saw a bracelet. The bracelet was only a few hundred yuan, but I liked its style very much. Later, due to some other matters, I didn't buy the bracelet. After that, I gradually forgot about it. I didn't expect the Duan Muke to remember it. I looked at the bracelet and held it tightly. This was the best solution between me and the Duan Muquebec. The wedding ceremony began as scheduled. Han Hao and I didn't invite too many people to our wedding. We only invited our relatives and friends, so the wedding wasn't very grand, but it was very warm. I stood in the greenhouse at the end of the stage and looked at Han Hao, who was standing on the stage. I couldn't hear what the host was saying, but I could only look at Han Hao, and my heart was rippling with happiness. I looked at Han Hao, and he was looking at me too. His face was full of smiles. Then, background music started playing. Han Hao came to me with a bouquet of flowers. He knelt before me and handed me the bouquet. I took it from him. Han Hao stood up and hugged me tightly. He patted my back gently and said, "Don't be nervous. I will always be with you, my dear." Han Hao stood next to me. I held the bouquet and held his arm tightly as I snuggled up to him. I felt very sweet. The two of us walked to the middle of the stage and stood on the stage to look down. Those were the people closest to us. I saw Suri and Xinyao at a wine table. Xinyao looked much better, but she still looked listless. The wedding process was going on in an orderly manner. Yang Shiza and the Red Baron had been busy. When the ceremony ended and it was time to toast, the few of us sighed in unison. It was finally going to end. We took the time to change into our dresses and toast to our relatives and friends. Today I was very happy. Han Hao was also very happy. Our parents were also very happy. Our relatives and friends were all very happy. Unknowingly, I had forgotten what it was like when Duan Muke and I got married. However, I would always remember what happened when he pressed me against the wall of the dressing room. It had been so long. Had he already forgotten about it? After sending off all the guests, I asked Uncle Bai to send my parents and Han Hao's parents back to rest. The few of us young people were left alone. I was so tired that I slumped on the chair and didn't want to move. Han Hao sat next to me. He held my hand tightly and said softly, "Honey, you must be tired. It's been hard on you. Let's go back and have a good rest later." At this time, Xinyao and Suri walked in front of me. Xinyao sat next to me and looked at me. "Sister-in-law, congratulations on your marriage. Fortunately, we made it in time for your wedding. We almost missed it." I reached out and touched Xinyao's belly. I asked softly, "Are you feeling better now? Is the pregnancy reaction still big?" Xinyao shook her head. "The reaction isn't that big. However, the baby is still not obedient. He always torments me. But there's nothing I can do. I still like him very much. Maybe it's because of motherhood." I was stunned. I looked at Suri and said, "Suri, your wife has changed a lot. She's not like before. She's a lot more mature." Xinyao smiled bitterly. "If it weren't for mom and brother, I wouldn't have found out that something so big had happened at home. They didn't want to tell me. I grew up under the protection of mom, dad, and brother. Thinking about how I couldn't do anything when something so big happened at home, I suddenly felt very useless. I really feel sorry for them. On one hand, they had to deal with the club's affairs. And on the other, they had to hide it from me so that I wouldn't worry. Even Suri knew, but I didn't know. I really am an incompetent daughter." Tears streamed down Xinyao's face. Suri stood next to Xinyao and hugged her. "Good girl, don't cry. You can't be too emotional right now. Don't think too much. Didn't Xiao Kei say that the club is getting better? Everything will get better." I held Xinyao's hand. "That's right. Don't think too much. You can't think about anything right now. You have to give birth to the baby quietly. Your emotions are very important, and they will affect the baby." I turned to look at Suri. "Suri, thank you for your hard work. You have to stay by her side during this time. I'm worried that she won't be able to take it. Prenatal depression has a great impact on pregnant women. You can't let her get sick at this time. It will affect her future." Suri nodded. "Don't worry, Mississippi. I will definitely take good care of Xinyao. You don't have to worry about the Kurosawa either. I will think of a way to help Xiao Quebec." He gave me a look. I guessed that he already knew about his father's scheme. Suri looked at me and said, "Okay, we won't disturb your rest. When we're done here, you can go back. Xinyao and I will go back first. If there's anything, we'll contact each other." With that, Suri helped Xinyao up and left with her. Looking at their silhouettes, I didn't feel good either. Han Hao looked at me and softly said, "Wifey, don't worry. Everything will be fine." I looked at him and nodded. After we were almost done here, we left. The Red Baron and Yang Shiza had been busy the whole day. Yang Shiza pulled the Red Baron away. Recently, they had been so busy that I didn't know how much progress they had made. Han Hao and I returned to our new house. It was a villa in the suburbs. From the time we were about to get married to the time the house was renovated, Han Hao didn't bother me at all. He designed everything according to the style I liked. I liked it very much. Although it was much smaller than my house and Duanmu's house, it was enough for the three of us. Yi didn't come with me. My mother said that she wanted to give Han Hao and I some alone time, so she brought Yi back. Only when I was with Han Hao did I truly understand what marriage was, what a wedding was, and what life was. When you were with the person you loved, you could do anything with happiness. I thought that Han Hao would feel the same way. I was glad that I met him, glad that I became his woman, glad that he took care of my next life. But for some reason my heart felt empty, as if something was missing. Chapter 260. Just like that, Han Hao and I began our life together. Every day was very regular and busy, but we never forgot about the warmth between us. Less than a week after our marriage, we brought Yi back from her parents' place. When Han Hao was renovating the house, he had specially prepared a children's room for Yi to use. It was designed according to Yi's favorite style. It was quite luxurious. Before Yi arrived at the house, Han Hao had already prepared an entire wardrobe full of clothes for her. Yi was overjoyed when she arrived at the house. Seeing Yi happy made Han Hao very happy. When they were happy, I was also very happy. This kind of life was really blissful, just like what I had been looking forward to. One night, as usual, I was cleaning the house while Han Hao went to coax Yi to sleep. I saw Han Hao's laptop bag casually thrown on the sofa. I walked over to pick it up and wanted to hang it on the clothes rack. But my hand slipped and the laptop bag fell to the ground. The documents in the bag all fell out. I hurriedly picked up the documents and inadvertently saw a mortgage application form. My curiosity was piqued. I took a closer look. The address on the mortgage application form was very familiar. I thought for a moment, wasn't that the address of Duanmu's house? Why would Duanmu's house be mortgaged? Why would the mortgage application form be in Xiao Hao's bag? Could it be that Han Hao wanted to mortgage Duanmu's house without permission? I shook my head hard. Impossible, Han Hao wasn't that kind of person. I decided to confirm it first. I looked at the signature under the application form. It was none other than Duanmu, Quebec. Could it be that Duanmu K wanted to mortgage Duanmu's house? What was he trying to do? I rummaged through Han Hao's laptop bag and found copies of Duanmu K's ID and household register. There was also a copy of the real estate certificate. It seemed that the mortgage application was real. But why did this happen? I held the documents tightly and couldn't help but frown. I didn't know what to do. At this moment, Han Hao walked out of Yi's room. He was stunned when he saw me holding his briefcase. Then he walked over with his lips pursed. He walked up to me and looked at the documents in my hands. He said softly, "You saw it all. What's going on?" I handed the documents to Han Hao. I looked at him and said softly, "What's going on? Why is there a mortgage application form? Why does it have Duanmu K's signature? What's going on? What on earth has happened to the Black Nightmare Society that they even have to mortgage their residence?" Han Hao looked at me and sighed. The crisis of the Black Nightmare Society has never been resolved. Now even the Black Nightmare Group is facing bankruptcy. In order to preserve the Black Nightmare Society, Kay had no choice but to sell off all the real estate in his family. Only then can he ensure that the Black Nightmare Society can survive. What about Caesar? Didn't Caesar say that he would buy the loss-making projects of the Black Viper Group? Why isn't it working yet? Caesar can only buy small projects. Although it can alleviate the Black Viper Group's crisis, it can't solve it. Xiao Kei has already decided to sell all of his properties. That way, Duanmu Kei can protect Kurosawa. Although there's no other way, it's the only solution. Hearing Han Hao's words, it seemed like there really was no other solution. I clenched my fists. In other words, my father emptied out the entire Black Nightmare Group. Although I don't want to admit it, that's what he did. I couldn't hide it, and I didn't know how to do it either. I could only use my own abilities to think of a way to help little Quebec. I can't use the society's funds anymore. And if I do, my father will definitely find out. When that happens, I'm afraid that he'll do something to the Black Nightmare Society. So I'm sorry, I hid it from you. Han Hao shook his head. He hugged me in his arms and said softly, "Wife, don't blame yourself. Actually, Duanmu Kei already knew about this for a long time. Although what Dad did was not right, he was also indirectly helping the Kurosawa invest. In front of the public, he couldn't directly help the Kurosawa. So he could only do it in this way. Of course, in the eyes of outsiders, it was an extremely despicable act. But I believe that Dad's real goal was to relieve the pressure on the Kurosawa. So don't say sorry. You did nothing wrong. Don't think too much." I leaned into Han Hao's arms and said softly, "But do we have to do this? Dad has already woken up. Did he and Mom know that Xiao Kei wants to sell his properties? They actually agreed? Why did they have to do this? The two of them are not in good health. How could they just casually find a place to live? Why did something like this happen?" I couldn't help but cry. My heart ached. I thought for a moment and looked at Han Hao. "Xiao Hao, take me to Duanmu Kei's house tomorrow. I want to see Mom and Dad. I'm worried." Han Hao looked at me and nodded. "Okay, take Yi to the Early Childhood Education Center tomorrow, and we'll go there." I leaned into Han Hao's arms and felt very uncomfortable. No matter what, I had to get to the bottom of this matter. The next morning we woke up early. Han Hao and I took Yi to the Early Childhood Education Center. Then, we went to buy some gifts and headed to Duanmu Kei's house. Because Han Hao had told us in advance, we saw Duanmu Kei as soon as we arrived at the door. He was waiting for us at the door. Looking at him from afar, I could feel his haggard appearance. We got out of the car and followed Duan Muke into the bedroom. It had been a long time since we last saw him, and he seemed to have lost a lot of weight. As soon as we entered the living room, I saw Duan Mutachio and Xiao Fingya sitting on the sofa. The house was cold and cheerless, and it no longer had its former glory. Duan Mutachio and Xiao Fingya had also aged a lot. I tried my best not to cry. I sat down next to Xiao Fingya and held her hand tightly. "Mom, how are you and Dad?" I asked in a soft voice. Xiao Fingya nodded and said, "We're fine. Although his father is awake now, he can't move. But this is also good. I can take care of him, so that he won't be disobedient." Then Xiao Fingya smiled at me. It was a bitter smile. This forced smile made my heart ache, but I didn't know how to comfort her. "Mom, I don't want to beat around the bush with you. Have you and Dad decided to sell the property?" I asked Xiao Fingya directly. Chapter 261. When Xiao Fingya heard me say that, she suddenly froze. She sighed, nodded, and softly said, "Yes, we've already decided to sell the real estate." "Mom, why? After selling the house, where will you and Dad live? The villa in the suburbs? Did you sell it too? Did you sell all the real estate? But Dad, Mom, where will you live in the future?" I looked at Xiao Fingya, my heart filled with worry. Xiao Fingya looked at me with a bitter smile and said, "Your dad and I have been thinking about this for a long time. If we don't sell the real estate, then we might not even be able to keep Kurosawa. This is your father's life's work. How can we let it disappear from this world? So after thinking about it for a long time, we decided that we can live in an apartment in Kurosawa. It's already been arranged. There's an 80 square meter apartment that's pretty good. It's already been tidied up, and we'll move there in 2 days. The environment isn't bad, and us two old people don't need much space, so it's enough. We've also taken care of some of the messy things in the house, so when you come over today, it will be a bit quieter." I shook my head and looked at my mother and said, "Mom, how can 80 square meters be enough? Mom, I'll find a place for you and Dad to live. Although the environment can't be compared to here, it's definitely better than that 80 square meter apartment. Mom, don't refuse me. You two old people have worked hard for most of your lives. How can I let you suffer such a big grievance? I won't allow it. Xiaoli, I know you're doing this for our good, but your dad and I have already decided that living a simple life like this is better than anything else. As long as you children live well, it's fine. If you come and visit us when you're free, we'll be satisfied. Isn't that right, Dad?" Xiao Fingya turned her head and looked at Duan Mutachio, who was sitting on the sofa. Duan Mutachio smiled and nodded. Xiao Fingya looked at me and cried. She reached out to wipe my tears and said, "Xiaoli, listen to me. Don't be sad. This is fate. Now that we're here, we have to live like this. We don't have any room to resist. Everything is fine now. Through this matter, our family has become more united. Kair has also matured a lot. When his father was sick, he worked very hard. He shouldered all the pressure in the Kurosawa by himself. When he came home, he never complained to us. Instead, he did everything he could to be filial to us. Kair has really changed. Seeing that he's sensible, we're very happy. Isn't that good? We also want to live a normal life. In the past, we started from nothing with Dad. Those are the days we cherish the most. Now we can reminisce about those happy times. This is also good." I wiped my tears and said softly, "Mom, you and Dad must not suffer. I really do feel sorry for you. I really do. I don't know how to help you, but..." As I spoke, I choked up again. Xiaofingya took my hand and said, "It's nothing. It's not like we haven't suffered before. It's just that Kair has suffered. Xinyao is fine. She married a good man like Suri and has her own life, so we don't have to worry about her. Kair has never suffered before. I'm worried that he won't be able to bear it. I don't know how to comfort him. He's become very quiet recently. If you and Xiaohao have the time, you should go and spend more time with him." Xiaofingya gently patted my hand. I turned to look at Han Hao. He was also looking at me. Han Hao thought for a moment. He looked at Xiaofingya and asked, "Auntie Xiao, Xiao Ke was here just now. Where did he go? Xiao Fengya nodded. He should be in his bedroom. Recently he's been cooped up in his room. I don't know what he's doing. I stood up and looked at Han Hao. Xiao Hao, I'm going upstairs to check on Xiao Ke first. I'll be back in a bit. Han Hao looked at me and nodded. I asked for his permission because I knew that Han Hao trusted me. If he didn't worry about letting me go alone to look for Duan Muke, then he definitely believed that nothing would happen between Xiao Ke and me. I left the living room and went upstairs to Duan Muke's bedroom. I knocked on the door. At first, no one answered. I knocked again. Duan Muke's voice came from inside. He said softly, "You don't have to call me to eat. I don't feel like eating." I sighed and pushed open the bedroom door. I saw Duan Muke sitting in front of his desk, holding a photo in his hand. He seemed to be lost in thought. I closed the door and quietly walked behind him. I saw the photo in his hand. It was a photo we had taken when we were on our honeymoon. In the photo, Duan Muke had his arm around my shoulder, and I was leaning against his chest. The two of us were laughing happily. I thought to myself, is he thinking of me? Duan Muke said softly, "I said I don't want to eat. You don't have to call me. You can go out. I want to be alone." He reached out and gently stroked the photo. He looked very sad. "What's the matter? You want to be alone so much? It's rare that Xiao Hao and I come over. Why don't you talk to us?" I gently patted Duan Muke's shoulder. He quickly stood up and hid the photo behind his back. Xiaoli, why are you here? I didn't even notice. Are you here to call me to eat?" Duan Muke's face turned red. He hurriedly stuffed the photo into the drawer. I looked at him and smiled. Then, I turned to look at the room I used to live in. It wasn't as luxurious as it used to be. In other words, the entire bedroom had nothing but a bed, a wardrobe, a desk and a stool. It was very cold. I stood at the window and looked out. I could see the garden and the rose pond in the garden. It was still there, and the flowers in the rose pond were very beautiful. Duan Muke looked at me in a daze. He said softly, "Xiaoli, why are you here? Is there something wrong?" I turned to look at Duan Muke and said, "Xiao Ke, Mom said you've been cooped up at home a lot lately. Is there something on your mind? If there's something, tell me. We'll think of a solution together." Duan Muke was stunned. He turned his head and said softly, "No, there's nothing wrong. I'm fine. Do you think you can hide it from me? Is it because you want to buy the property, and you feel sorry for Mom and Dad? If Mom and Dad are willing, I can find a better place for Mom and Dad. It's definitely better than an apartment." You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.